It's Locked On Giants Live, Traina, Tainah, Dog, Playoff Edition. Don't go anywhere. That's coming your way next.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily New York Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to Locked On Giants Live. I am your host, Patricia Traina of Locked On Giants, joined by Tainah. You know him and love him. And we're waiting on Bad Dog to pop in. He should be here. I think he's running a little late, but my understanding is he will be here. But you got two of the three of us here, and we're going to just make a go of it until Bad Dog gets around. Hope everybody's doing well. Tainah? Playoffs, baby.
Don't even get me started. I can't believe we're even talking about a playoff game before the year started. We've been doing this show all year, basically, and at the beginning of the year, there's no way if you would have asked me, is this team going to the playoffs, that I would have believed you. It's been an incredible ride. There's been so many positives to take out of this year. The most positive thing for me is I don't look at it like we're playing with house money anymore. I look at this as like a game that we have a very good chance to win. I think we match up well with Minnesota. I think we have a very good chance to win this football game. And if you start to go on a roll, who knows where it could take you? That's the beauty of the playoffs. It's one and done any given Sunday. So really excited to see how the New York Giants stack up against Minnesota this week, but I certainly think we have a very good chance.
Yeah, absolutely. The mood in the locker room this week, quiet confidence, not cocky, confident. As it should be. You're not going to see guys, standing there going, "Oh my God, maybe we'll beat, we'll beat the Vikings." No, their heads are held high. They trusted in the process that they put in the work this week, and they did put in some good work this week. So the confidence is definitely there now. Some things, of course, have to change, which we'll talk about in just a bit. But one thing that kind of came out today that I was like, yes, finally. Yeah. The injury report. Nobody got an injury designation. I mean, has that ever happened? I can't ever remember that being the case. And I've been covering this team, as you know, for a long time.
Certainly not for the Giants. I mean, it seems like it's happened for everybody else, but certainly not for the New York Giants. And what better time to be? And of course, we have some injuries. Wan'Dale Robinson's out.
Right.
But for the guys that are capable of playing, everybody's healthy. So what better time to get 100%? And you have to figure that the Giants were taking their time with Adoree Jackson coming off the injury. McKinney didn't play last week. They rested all the starters because they knew they were going to need them for this game. So they're ready. They're set. And I can't wait. I can't wait to see what this defense looks like this week, because now we got the pieces. The first time around when we played Minnesota, we didn't have Adoree Jackson. We didn't have Xavier McKinney. And this offense, really since that game, really seems like it's starting to click. The Giants this year finished 15th in points scored, which blew my mind when I saw that stat like 3 or 4 days ago. We actually ended up being a higher ranked offense than a defense, which if you would have told me that mid-season, I would have said you're nuts. So it just seems like this team is starting to click, and we're starting to get our pieces back. So I don't know. I got good feelings going into the playoffs. Let's just say that.
Yeah, the feeling is definitely running high, and and here's the weird thing, all right, I don't want to jinx anything. I don't want to count my chickens before they're hatched, but could I see a possibility of the Giants and Eagles in the divisional round if everything falls into place? Wouldn't that be a kick in the butt?
Well, I think that's what you're looking at. I think if we win, because we'll know by tomorrow, because the Niners play the Seahawks. If the Seahawks lose, that means, and there he is. If the Seahawks
got a lot of stuff going on.
Playoffs, man. What's more important than
go? Let's
Come
go,
on.
baby. But if Seattle,
I'm ready. Oh, trust me. Ready to go. Ready to win.
All right. Sorry, Tainah. We interrupted.
No, that's okay. No, I was just saying that if Seattle loses tomorrow, that locks us in for the Philadelphia Eagles in the second round, like you were saying. So if Seattle wins, which I don't think they will, I think the 49ers are going to blow their doors off. Then that sets us up with the winner of the Cowboys-Bucks game. But part of me wants the Eagles in the second round, because part of me is like, it's inevitable. We're probably going to have to play them anyway, no matter what, because I think the Eagles will beat the winner of the Bucs-Cowboys game more than likely. So if we were I'm able to get by the second, we would play them. Either way, we're going to have, I think we're going to have to play the Eagles, whether it be the second round, third round. And I think we have a better chance to beat the Eagles off the bye than in week 3. So part of me wants to see the Eagles in the second round as opposed to potentially seeing them in the third.
Yeah, gonna be interesting. And like you said, we'll know tomorrow what the status is of that game. And but again, I don't want to
gotta win.
Be one of those people that counts their chickens before they're hatched, but I think the mood around East Rutherford is feeling pretty good. I'll tell you what, I've been conservative pretty much all, year long. I'm feeling pretty good about this because really you look back at that Vikings game, the Giants kind of beat themselves. Yeah, Hawkinson had a big game. Yes, Jefferson had a big game, but you're getting McKinney back. You're getting Adoree Jackson back, it looks like. Going to be a whole new defense if you think about it with those two guys in there. And, speaking of which, I want to talk about some of the changes. We'll start with the offensive side of the ball. What are some of the things that you anticipate the Giants will do differently on offense?
I'll start in terms of what they'll do differently on now. When you say that, do you mean from the first time around that they played Minnesota?
Yeah, from the first time that they played the Vikings. What do you think they'll change up?
I think this time around, now I don't think they're going to get completely like the way they used to be in terms of being a super heavy run team, because I think they have started to grow in terms of throwing the football. But the first time around when we played Minnesota, I think Barkley only had like 13 carries. He did have 8 catches and 10 targets. And I loved the way Daniel Jones looked in that game. I loved how the offense started to evolve. But that game left me with the feeling that I kind of wish we were at least a little bit more balanced. I don't think it's in this team's best interest, even now with how good as the offense has looked, to try to get into gunslinging battles, throwing the ball 42, 45 times, however many times we threw it against Minnesota the first time around, even though it was effective. And I do think we could throw on Minnesota. But I think by running the ball and being a bit more balanced, it's going to allow the defense to be that much more rested, be able to close out the game, get pressure on Kirk Cousins. So I expect we're going to throw. And I think Jones is going to have a good game. But I expect it to be more balanced this time around. I think we're going to run the ball a bit more than we did the first time when we played Minnesota.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of throwing, can we get the tight end involved a little bit more? I think Bellinger only had 2 targets. Maybe get him involved a little bit more. Dog, what do you think they're going to change up on offense this time around?
I think you're going to see a little bit of everything. There is no tomorrow if you lose this game, so I think you're going to see a lot of different things go on. You may see some trick plays. I think you'll see Daniel Jones run a little bit more because again, you got to leave everything that you have. You got to leave out in the field. You don't want to take anything with you. So I think the entire playbook's open. But I agree with Chris. I think we were very pass heavy. And Daniel Jones, I did have a really good game in that game. There's no question. That was the most he threw for all year. I don't think he threw for more than 334 in any game during the regular season. A lot of his games are about 170 yards, 180 yards, and he threw for 334. But and I think they will throw. So I mean, I think Daniel Jones can still have a really good game, passing the ball. But like Chris said, I don't think you want to get in a shootout with Minnesota. I think you want to make Minnesota play our game, which is slow it down, keep their offense on the field, keep our defense fresh, and extend drives by, running the ball, time of possession, that type of thing. That's the way we're going to win this game. And obviously we can't lose a turnover battle. We lost a turnover battle. We turned it over twice inside their 20, and it took them a 61-yard field goal to beat us at the end of regulation. I feel good about this game. I really do. As long as we don't make mistakes and we don't beat ourselves, I think we're good enough to win this game. But I agree with Chris. I think it'll be more balanced. I think you'll see more Saquon Barkley. These guys are coming off a rest. Didn't technically have a bye. The Giants didn't have a bye, but the starters had a bye. So they're rested, they're refreshed. And I do think you're going to see at the beginning of that game anyway, a heavy dose of Saquon Barkley. You want to establish a run. That way the RPO is a lot more effective because I think you'll see that later in the game. I think they'll establish Barkley. If they can move him, then you're going to see Daniel Jones do a lot more of that. And I think at that point, the offense could be wide open.
Do you think this game has a potential? I mean, everybody's talking 1-score game. I don't think it's going to be a 1-score game. Do you agree with that? Do you think that maybe the Giants could get off to a fast start against this team?
You said you don't, or you do think it's going to be?
I don't think it's going to be a one-score game.
I think it will. I think, and I hope it's not. I hope you're right. I hope the Giants blow their doors off.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah, but I don't. I don't think so. I think it will be a one-score game. I think it's going to be tight.
I hope not.
I hope not either. But that's just the style of play both of these teams have played all year. I know the Giants blew out the
11-0 in one-score games.
Yeah, I know they are, but
they're due to lose then, Patty. They're due to lose one.
Yeah.
All right.
I think we could win that style. I don't care that they're undefeated in the regular season. We probably had maybe 2 or 3 losses in one-score games. That's our style of football too.
We had a lot of wins in one-score games too.
Tons.
Yeah.
And we should have beat them the first time around, as far as I'm concerned. So I hope not. I hope they win by 10, 14, 20. But I'm leaning it'll be close. The only way I could see this game not being close, one, we have to play flawless on offense, which lends itself back to trying to run the ball a bit more. As good as the passing game looked the first time around, we turned the ball over twice. The Giants turned the ball over twice. This is going to be a very tough game to win for us, much like it was the first time around. So we got to play near flawless offensively. We can't make mistakes. And defensively, we're going to have to create 2 or 3 turnovers of our own, which we have the chance going up against their weakened offensive line for sure. I think that's the biggest mismatch in this game, our D-line versus their O-line. But I don't think we're going to blow them out. I think knowing the Giants and knowing Minnesota, I think this will be a field goal game, maybe a 4-point game one way or the other.
Well, our defense is a lot healthier this time around, too. This time around, we're going to have a Dory Jackson, we have Xavier McKinney. We didn't have those guys. And I don't remember if Azeez Ojolari, I don't think Azeez, Tibbs, Leonard Williams, and Dex Lawrence all played in that game. I could be wrong. But I do think if you're going to beat Minnesota, you want to play a little press coverage because Jefferson will tear up a soft zone. I mean, he's great against his own defense. So, Wink's aggressive. And again, this is the playoffs. There is no tomorrow. There is no buffer zone. There is no mulligan here. You lose, you're done. So you might as well break out everything that you have and go for it. And, Wink's aggressive anyway. So I think they will get to Kirk Cousins. I think they will force some turnovers in this game. And I think that ultimately we'll know at the end my score, but we're winning, damn it. We are winning. We are winning, Giants fans. We are winning. We've been waiting way too long for this. We're going to get this done.
I agree with you. I think we're going to win.
I think so, too.
I don't think it's going to be a blowout fashion, though. I think it'll be tough, but I think we're going to win.
Fair enough. How does having Adoree and Xavier McKinney back change? Because we asked Wink this week, does that allow you to call a different defense? And he was like, oh, yeah, Like that. I mean, what do you think changes besides, maybe the coverage assignments and whatnot, as far as what they can do this time around that they couldn't do the first time around?
I think the biggest change for me, for the Giants in this game, I think we have a better chance to limit Hockenson. The first time around, TJ Hockenson killed us. He had like 12 catches and a touchdown. And now you bring back Xavier McKinney, and you got to figure McKinney's going to be lined up on Hockenson a lot throughout this game. So that's a big change for me. If McKinney's himself, of course, he got the club on, but that should certainly help us. It's a big upgrade there. And I mean, listen, McKinney's arguably the second or third most important player in this defense when he's healthy. The guy was the Mike, for God's sakes, in terms of calling the plays. So he certainly adds a lot to this defense. And Adoree Jackson, if he's himself, which I'm leaning he won't be because he has not played in forever. So even if he's completely healthy, he's probably still going to be a little bit, a little off, in this game. And hopefully not. Hopefully he's incredible. I think he's going to need help. If he's matched up on Justin Jefferson, he's going to need help throughout this game. But I think McKinney's return has the bigger impact. And I think the biggest impact is going up against TJ Hockenson. Yeah.
I mean, last time I think Landon Collins had Hockenson, and then they kind of switched off a little bit. But, what I'm curious to see is Adoree Jackson. He was limited for all but this practice. Today, he was actually a full participant, but he's been limited. So, just slowly ramping him up and whatnot. So I'm curious to see how, if he's able to go from zero to 100%. This week, I got a chance to talk to Adoree, and I asked him about his wind. I said, you basically sat out. I said, what have you been doing for your wind? And he's like, well, remember, I ran track, so I'm not worried about my wind. And I'm like, yeah, but you haven't run in a while. So, that's what I'm thinking. But he had that little glint in his eye, that little, sparkle, like something, like he was planning to unleash something on the Vikings. So
as Marty Schottenheimer used to say, it's the gleam. the gleam. So I don't know, man. I feel good about this game. I just feel damn good to be back in the playoffs. It's been so long since we've had such a meaningful football game.
You're very
And-
mellow, all things considering, dog. Late night.
Yeah, I'm just Friday night. I'm tired. I'm this time of the week. I'm just tired. My work schedule, the diet, the workout. By Friday night, I'm usually running on fumes. I'm usually pretty tired, and I can't lie. I actually came home and took a little bit of a nap today. So I'm just trying to wake myself up right now. But yeah, no, trust me. I'm saving it all for Sunday. I don't know. But trust me, it's in there. I'm fired up. I'm ready to go. I'm definitely ready to go.
Checking because I'm like, I want to make sure you didn't send your twin or something here because you.
No, we're good. Yeah, playoffs, baby. We're ready to go, Giants fans. Let's go, damn it. I'm ready to smack someone in the mouth. I'm ready to get out there, Patty. Put the pads on me. I'll pull a hamstring right away, but that's okay. They're bringing a stretch out. Medic, get that old guy off the field.
You're all knowing love, people. There you go. See, and you guys were worried about Dog and if he was not feeling well or not up. He's ready, folks.
I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. You got to build it up, though. He can't come out like that. Yeah, I'm ready.
He's got the shades going. I love it. I love it. You guys are doing okay. You both got the shades going. Mine are somewhere in.
I'll tell you the other thing. I'm ready to do that playoff stream with Chris. We haven't been able to enjoy one of those yet. And
I'm ready to do four playoff streams with you.
Yes.
Wow.
Hell yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Why not? If you're in it, play to win it. Let's go.
Of course.
Yeah. So guys, let me ask you this. All week long, Daboll's kind of been like, playoff, he's been downplaying the whole concept playoff, saying, what works week one should work in the playoffs, vice versa. Do you like the approach that Daboll has been taking?
I love it.
With keeping these guys, grounded? Because I think one of the concerns a lot of us had, those of us on the outside, was, would this team be maybe too overhyped? Sea-Dog, for example, would they be too overhyped about the playoffs? And they've just been so chill the entire week. And Daboll's message to them is, guys, let's just stick to the process. The process is the same as we were doing in week one. I mean, it seems to be working, I would say. But you also want to have a little bit of, I think, excitement. You think it'll just be there on game day?
Oh yeah, but I mean, Daboll's had this exact approach all year. And I know the regular season games, but we have already played in 4 playoff games. Everybody knew going into all those games that they were must-win games. Otherwise, we were not going to the playoffs. That's pretty much a playoff game. Both Washington games, the Colt game, the Minnesota game, those were playoff intensity type games. So the New York Giants have already been in this environment, and Daboll took the same approach week in and week out. Every time that some of your buddies, not you, but by the way, I listened to some of the questioning. I saw Dave's. You asked him a question, and he's like, Patty, call me Dave's.
I know.
I was laughing when I heard it. But no, I think like Jordan Renan has asked him several times to try to get him to say that this is essentially a playoff game. And he said, no, this is just a regular week. We're approaching it the same way we approach the games week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. And that's the approach he's taken all year. Even in these high-pressured games, that's what he's displayed to the media. And I'm sure that's what he's tried to display to the football team. But I'm sure the team's going to be a little bit extra amped up. But they're ready for this, I think. I'm not worried about the lack of experience because in my eyes, they've already experienced games where it was do or die. I mean, those 4 games I listed, you had to go into those games with that mindset, especially the second Washington game on primetime on Sunday Night Football. Had they not won that game, we wouldn't be in the playoffs. So, yeah, I think they're prepared for this, and I think Daboll is going to take the same approach he's taken all year, week to week.
I like his approach, to be honest with you, because at the end of the day, it is just a football game. You're just preparing to play this week. You're just worried about Minnesota. You're not worried about what comes after Minnesota, who you may play after Minnesota. They just have to focus on the task at hand. And you don't need to fire these guys up. These guys know what's at stake. They know a lot of these guys have been here for years. Daniel Jones has been here since 2019. Leonard Williams, these guys, Dexter Lawrence, they've been here. They know how bad this team has been. And I know it's the first time they've been in the postseason. They don't need to get, Brian Daboll to come in there and fire them up and get them all ready to go. He's taking the same approach that's worked all year. This team hasn't spent one day under 500 the entire season, whereas the last 5 years, we didn't spend one day over 500. The culture is much different. And these players believe and the way Daboll approaches the things and his game plan and his mindset and everything else. So there is no reason to change what they've done. This has been successful. And again, that first game against Minnesota, in my opinion, is the only time I was mad after a game this year was against Minnesota. And it's not because I felt like we played poorly or, I was mad. I was mad because I felt like we should have won. Like I felt like we were good enough to beat Minnesota. And I felt like I was more mad that the guy made a field goal. I just wanted it to go to overtime because if that goes to overtime, we're winning. I know we're winning.
Yeah.
And because we had all the momentum. And I just felt like the defense had started to click a little bit. And I felt like they were starting to get there and the offense is finding its rhythm. And the offense did. To me, the offense played its best 2 games against Minnesota and then against Indianapolis before they sat against Philadelphia. So I do feel like the offense is starting to click. The defense is going to be healthy in this game. Again, Adoree Jackson and Xavier McKinney are 2 massive pieces, our 2 best, guys in the secondary. And like Chris said, McKinney's leadership can't be understated, how much he means calling out the defense, being the mic and everything else out there. So we're just going into this game in a much better situation. Minnesota hasn't really blown anybody out. They've gotten blown out a few times. We saw Green Bay run over them. We saw Dallas run over them. Philadelphia run over them. I'm not saying we're going to run over them, but they are definitely beatable.
They're vulnerable.
And I think that at the end of the year, I think we were playing better football than Minnesota. And I think it's going to go into Sunday. And I think that we're going to win this football game.
Yeah.
I agree with you. And I'm gonna tell you what, we're hot at the right time. I know we don't have as much talent as a lot of these teams that are in these playoffs, but we're hot at the right time. And to me, come playoff time, that's as important. That's the most important thing. How are you
right?
playing
Good
going
point.
into
I was
the
just going to
playoffs?
make that point because the last 4 games they've gone 2-2. But think about it: they stood toe to toe with the Vikings. They stood toe to toe with the Eagles with their backups, no less. All right. So it kind of reminded me, and I keep going back to 2007. But there were shades of 2007 there when that team stood toe to toe with the undefeated Patriots. Well, the Eagles supposedly are the best team, in the NFC. They're the number 1 seed, and the Giant backups kept them in the game, and they played them tight. I mean, that was what, a 1-score game?
Yeah.
So I mean, no,
and it was a 1-score game in which we
but
attempted.
you're right, Tainah. They're getting hot at the right time.
Yeah.
And they just need that momentum to carry over. And, the Vikings, I think they're beatable. I was having a discussion with one of my colleagues this week, and I said, geez, you look at the Vikings, and I don't want to disrespect any team, mind you, but their record really doesn't say what they are. You know how Parcells always used to say you are what your record says you are?
Yep.
I think the Vikings, you talk about overachieving teams, Vikings are it.
They have an even point differential. They might even be a little bit under if I'm correct. They're 9 games over 500, but I think they've scored less points than they've given up on the year because every one of their wins have been by like 3 points, 7 points, and their losses that they have had, they've gotten completely destroyed against the Cowboys, against the Packers, so on and so forth. So, yeah, I listen. I'm confident going into the game. I don't want to be too cocky.
Right.
But I'm definitely
confident. I don't think we're cocky. I don't think we're
I'm
going in there like, oh, we're going to blow these guys out.
Yeah,
We're better than them. No, but I think that I definitely believe we can beat this team. I definitely do. And I know Chris, myself, and I know that there's so many other Giants fans that after that Minnesota game, we were like, we'd like to see them again. We want another shot at them again. Now, the ironic thing is, and I think Chris mentioned this. I don't know. Somebody mentioned this. It is ironic the last time we tied was 1997. We were 10-5-1. We're 9-6-1 this year. Or I'm sorry, 9-7-1 this year. And obviously the last game,
and we played Minnesota.
And we played Minnesota. Now, I will say this. We better have a different result this time because 1997 is one of the 4 playoff losses that just sticks in my craw and will for the rest of my life because we should not have lost that game. But it is ironic that we tied Washington in 97, made the wild card in 97, then played Minnesota, and we just played them at home.
And entirely possible. And I was the one that brought that up because I brought up the Coach of the Year thing because that was the last time our coach won Coach of the Year, 1997, Jim Fossil. Very possible Daboll wins Coach of the Year this year. So there's a lot of similarities between those 2 years. The tie, Washington, potential Coach of the Year, Minnesota first round in the playoffs. So hopefully it's a different result, like Bad Dog said.
Yeah, the only difference is I don't remember if Dave. I know Danny Cannell was a starter, but I can't remember if Dave Brown was on that team. So we had a Duke quarterback.
He was on that team.
So there you go. We had a Duke quarterback as well. He just didn't start. Danny Canal started. But, yeah, I think Minnesota is very beatable. And, I'm definitely looking forward to this game. There's no question. There will be a lot of energy. There'll be a lot of anxiety. I have to have the bottle of Tums over here.
I was just gonna say, just from you alone, right, dog?
Yeah, I'm gonna need like a thing of Tums over here because, yeah, I live and die with every play in the playoffs. People that don't know me, they see me on camera. Some people think this is an act. I'm like, you can ask my wife. This is the way I am watching a game. Way before YouTube. I said the only difference is now I record myself doing it or I stream myself. This is the way I act every game. She'll tell you. Because one of the funniest things she always says to me, why are you yelling at the TV? They can't hear you. So all the time.
You know
what? Are you yelling at the TV for? They can hear you. I'm like, you don't understand.
We're gonna be partying on Sunday.
My father was like that. I remember, because growing up, I used to watch the games with my father when he wasn't at the games. He was a season ticket holder for a number of years, and he would yell at the TV. And I remember being little and saying to him, "Daddy, why are you yelling at the TV? They can't hear you." Yeah, and he'd be like, "You'll understand one day."
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I don't think my wife will ever understand. She just deals with it. She's just like, whatever. My husband's insane. Yeah, that's really what that is.
She's like, I'm taking the kid and I'm going out.
Yeah. It's only a matter of time before my son starts doing the same thing. I already know. He already knows the Eagles stink, by the way.
I'm sure
we teach my son who we like. When he becomes an Eagle fan, I said, no, that doesn't happen. You're Giants, Yankees in this house. That's the way that goes. That's right through from my grandfather. That's right through my bloodline. So you don't have a choice. And he knows. I don't say to him, you have to root for them. But what I do is, you have to train. I was like, oh, there's Daddy's team. There's the Giants. Look at that blue uniform. Look how great that uniform is. Oh, there's Daddy's team. The Yankees. Look at the pinstripes. Look at Aaron Judge. Look at those guys. That's how we do it. Look at whatever. Look at Kayvon Thibodeau. Look at that. He did it. Touchdown. That type of thing. So
yeah. See, my father wasn't like that. My brother went off and he just to spite him, he went and became a Jets fan. And now these days he's a Chiefs fan and he's constantly razzing me about the Chiefs and the Giants. And I'm like, just shut up, you bandwagoner. I mean, you should see our group chats, man. Sure. If you could see our group chats, you would they're hilarious. But just real quick, I want to say hello and thank you we got a lot of new people on the chat. So I want to thank everybody for popping in on a Friday night, hanging out with us. We always have a great time on these chats. So I know some of you have started asking questions. Hang on to them. We'll get to some questions a little later in the program. We usually go about 2 hours here on this show, and then Tainah and Dog go and they do another show afterwards.
Yeah. We'll be on my channel tonight. If she'll come on by, we'll have more fun. Bud.
Hey, yes. Tainah, did you have Banks on last night?
He did. So we'll talk about it after. But his agent hasn't gotten back to me yet. He told me to. He told me to. I don't know if it's his agent, assistant.
Okay. So
and I don't want to keep bothering her. So if it doesn't happen this week, it'll happen next week.
All right. And just a heads up, I finally got hold of Nick Gates, and I invited him on the pod. He's not going to be on tonight because I know he had something to do.
Yeah, getting ready to whoop Minnesota's ass. Yeah, that's what he's getting ready to do.
that probably has something to do with it.
It does.
But he did tell me he would come on the pod. Now, I don't know if it's going to be next week when we do the live show or if I'm going to tape. I'm going to Monday. I'll find out because obviously we have to see what the schedule looks like next week. But Gates said he would do it. Come on the show and. If I could do it live, I'll do it live. It might be short notice, but just keep your eyes on the channel. Again, like and subscribe to the channel because you won't know if Gates is coming on live unless you like and subscribe the channel, right?
That's right. Please, make sure you ring the bell so you get the notification.
That bell because every time we have a new video we post up or an upcoming video or an upcoming live show, ring that bell. You will be notified. You don't want to miss, Gates will be on. If he said he's going to be on, I believe him.
I can tell you, Nick Gates. I was talking about we were doing the game on Sunday. I said Nick Gates is the guy. He wants to get into it. And when Davis Webb got hit out of bounds, who's the first guy over there? Is Nick Gates. Like he loves it. He's ready to go to war. I'm like that's the guy you want down there in the trenches. He's just he wants all the smoke. Nick Gates.
Yeah.
So he's always, if someone hits his quarterback late, he's the first guy over there.
He listen, if he likes you, he looks out for you. I mean, he's always looking out for me in the locker room. He's like, if anybody gives you any problems, you tell me. And I'm like, okay, I ain't starting any trouble here because people get in their face, you know.
Yeah.
He's just a good dude, and I'm really excited to have him on. And I've got to find out exactly if we'll be able to do a live show or if it'll be a tape show. If it's tape, I'll put a post up in the YouTube community. If you guys want to submit questions, I'll try and slip some of those questions in if I have to do it offline, but still to be determined. But Rob J asked, why not bring License Plate Guy on the show? I actually invited License Plate Guy to come on the show. We haven't been able to coordinate the scheduling. I know License Plate Guy is heading out to Minnesota. Yeah. I think tomorrow morning. I think
tomorrow morning. Yep.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because I heard air traffic to get out to Minnesota. They don't have a very big airport out there, so going to be some backups and whatnot, as far as getting out there. But
I have a feeling the Giants fan base is going to travel very well to that game.
Seems like
listen, you know what?
Usually the Giants fan base does travel well in the postseason.
Can I let you in on a little secret? And I normally do not do this, but it was suggested to me that I do it just to be on the safe side. In the event that, the Giants do draw Philly, they beat Minnesota and then they draw Philly. In the event it's a night game, and I have no idea when the game is going to be, if it comes down to that. Mm-hmm. Somebody said you might want to put a hotel reservation in for Philly because in case it's a night game, because I'm not driving back late at night.
Yeah, that's certainly not horrible
through Camden and that area. So I went
definitely not.
Yeah, I went. I made my reservation just in case. Now, fortunately, I can cancel it as long as I cancel it by the 18th. By then, we'll know, obviously. But listen, if you're planning,
you'll be.
You're only gonna have to cancel that if they don't play at night because they are going.
If they do, then I can get back that night. Which
you'll know tomorrow. You'll know by the end of tomorrow if it's possible. We'll be playing.
We'll know. We have to know Sunday. I mean, we'll know.
Oh, even before then, if Seattle wins tomorrow, we can't play the Eagles in the second round. Because they have a lower seed than the Giants. They would play the Eagles. So
yeah.
You'll know by tomorrow.
That'd be the biggest upset in a long time.
Oh, I don't expect it, but you never know.
You never know.
You don't know in the playoffs. You really don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but yes, I've asked LPG to come on. Eventually I'd love to have Tommy G come on with us, Coach Gene. I had him on this week, but maybe have him come on live. So, I don't want to have like too many people on because then it becomes a shouting match, but we'll work on getting some more people on here. So, we'll work on it, folks. And Big Move, thank you for the compliment on the shorts. I've been trying to put out shorts on YouTube, little thoughts that pop into my head. Also, I don't know if you guys saw the notice that I had, just real quick. I have a new Locked On Giants Instagram account. So I've got videos, pictures, stats, fun stuff. I posted a one-on-one I did with Sterling Shepard about, what it means to him to be part of this whole experience, even though he's on IR. So check that out if you're on Instagram. The account is Locked On Giants. Like and follow that account as well. We're trying to up our game here on Locked On and just up our social media game. So any support you guys and gals give me is appreciated. So, all right, guys, let's get back to the Minnesota game. What is the X factor? The one thing that we're really not talking about, we've talked about Hawkinson, we talked about Jefferson, we talked about, getting the Cousins, but what aren't we talking about that we should be talking about that can virtually come up and bite the Giants on the, what, if they don't have a plan for it?
Evan Neal.
Bingo. Yeah, bingo. That's exactly what I was gonna say.
That's definitely what worries me the most going into this game is because they got two good pass rushers. They got two very good pass rushers. So we've seen the way that Neal's played down the stretch, and I still love Neal. I think Neal's going to be great, but he's a rookie, and he seems like he's hit a little bit of a rookie wall. He's had a couple of injuries.
Yeah, I was going to say I have some insight on that.
Yeah,
if you watch Neal on tape, what do you notice? You notice he's been bending more at the waist as opposed to the knees. Well, what was his injury mid-year? It was a knee injury, right?
Yeah.
He's not right. I am convinced. I mean, he won't admit it. Nobody will admit it. But just watch the tape, and you can see Neil has started to bending at the waist. And he's trying to compensate because he can't fully bend at the knees. And when you bend at the waist as an offensive lineman, guess what? You're going to lose your leverage.
Yeah, no
So
leverage.
I think that's because I did a statistical thing, and I forget. I think he's got 39 pressures, and I think most of them have come since he's returned from that knee injury.
Yeah, he had the one bad game against Dallas, and then he started to play
better,
really well, and then he got injured.
Right. So,
and we've seen, his poor play could ruin a game all by itself. That Dallas,
and I think part of the reason he's had these false starts is because of that, and he's trying to get like a head start, and he's moving a little early, and that also costs you. That's not quite the same as a sack, but obviously, if you're putting your team backwards 5 yards, because he did that a couple times against Philadelphia. We actually had a couple of decent drives when it happened. So, I mean, you never know with a knee. And he's a big guy. I mean, that's a lot of pressure. And you got another big guy running into you, so it can't feel good. But yeah, I agree, Chris. I mean, I think Evan Neal is going to be they might have to give him some kind of help.
They're going to have to put a tight end over there or just chip block somebody. But, and then somebody, Chris D mentioned Glowinski. Glowinski's been dealing with a back ailment. So he's been battling a few things too. So that right side, if it looks like that right side of the offensive line has not been as sharp as you like it to be, that's your reason, injuries. And I know nobody wants to hear injuries as an excuse and not. I get it, but you have to factor that into the equation because, with using Neil as an example, he started to get better and all of a sudden he's lousy. Something's got to be the factor there. So, and Glowinski came in. I think his reputation was as a pass.
Run blocker. Good run blocker. Bad
and
pass.
His run blocking hasn't been, as sharp as you'd like it to be.
Yeah.
Probably because he's dealing with some aches and pains of his own that he's trying to compensate for. So
and I'm gonna throw in another X factor too. The special teams.
Yes.
That the special teams for the Giants this year have been bad. And every week it just feels like they're like a one missed tackle away from giving up a touchdown on a kick return. They definitely have holes in that special teams. That has to hold up. That the punt coverage has to be good. The kick coverage. I don't even want Graham Gano to get cute. You're in a dome, so that's beneficial from the standpoint. I don't
kick it out of the end zone.
They can kick it out of the end zone easily. There's not going to be the wind's not going to be a
Yep,
factor.
no winner kicks.
So don't even get cute on kickoffs. Just kick it out of the end zone. So I'm not too worried about the kick returns because of the dome. I think they'll be able to do that regularly on kickoffs. But the punt coverage has to be there. That's been a problem this year. So that's a major X factor for me as well.
There's one more X factor and I don't know how much time he'll get, but Matt Breida. I think Matt Breida needs some more touches. I mean, I know again, this is it. You either win or you go home. So Barkley getting 30 touches, or being the main back would not surprise me. But Breida has some explosiveness. He's good in the passing game. Like I'd like to see them use him a little bit more. I'm not saying that he should split carries with Saquon Barkley, but it might be nice to get Breida, 10 touches, whether that be between receiving and rushing. But he's been pretty effective when he's been in there, and it's a little bit of a change of pace. So, Minnesota might not be looking so much for that, especially they haven't used many split back formations this year. But if Minnesota is going to key in on Saquon, which why wouldn't you? I mean, he's probably your best offensive player. If not, he's, definitely one of them. Yeah, I think he is. I mean, he's the guy that can go the distance at any time. So Breida's one. And then there's another one, Kenny Golladay. Now, I don't know what Golladay is going to be in this game. And
I have some insight on that.
It's funny, Patty, because I think most Giants fans, as much as we've given Kenny Golladay crap, and he's deserved it. He has been, we paid the guy $72 million. He has done nothing. But when he caught that touchdown, I feel like, at least in our stream, genuinely 95% of Giants fans were happy for him that he did that. And maybe you saw Daboll go over to him. Maybe he finds something. Maybe he, they put him in there. Maybe he produces in the postseason, which if he's going to produce, that'd be the best time to do it. So maybe he does. Maybe he and Hodgins down in the red zone. He got two guys that are 6'4". Maybe he found something. Maybe that gives him confidence. Maybe he plays a great game against Minnesota. It's something they're not expecting because he hasn't been part of the game plan a lot this year. But Kenny Golladay may be the biggest X factor of everybody that they throw out there. It's just nice to know that that's there. And maybe he can be that guy. I don't know. But it was nice to see him catch touch. It was a hell of a catch against a very good corner. And I know a lot of Giants fans are thinking, God, where was that for the last 2 years, Kenny?
Well,
Yeah.
Maybe it's there now. Maybe that's a start.
I don't know. I mean, I agree with you, and I've gotten a lot of questions. And by the way, what's up, Fabian? I see you there. I was trying to type a response, but I can't see my keyboard. Yeah, I've gotten a lot of questions about Kenny Golladay and will he be a bigger part of the offense? Mixed, I asked around, and the impression I'm getting is he'll get some snaps, but I question whether they're going to be pass targets. Like he might get a target here and there, but if you're looking for him to get like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,
no.
a lot of pass targets, no, they're going to probably roll with Slayton because they like what Slayton has done. Hodgins, they love that kid.
Yeah, of course.
What's not to love there? Even Richie James, Richie James has a specific role. I'm not so sure there's going to be enough snaps there for Kenny Golladay. And then, I keep bringing this point up, and it's interesting because I was surprised at Golladay, and I probably shouldn't have been surprised in retrospect, but they don't want him to get hurt. You put him out there, he gets hurt. Now you got to do an injury settlement. You're not going to be able to cash in on the full amount when he's cut. And I think he will be cut at the end of the year. So I question how much he's going to be used. But look, Daboll, he's going to do what he needs to do to win this game. And if it means bringing in Golladay as a decoy, then so be it. Golladay might not like it, but look, ask the guy to block. He's got the size. He can do it. And if you see an effort, then maybe later in the game you reward him with a snap or two. But if he goes out there and half bakes it, then it's like, what are we doing?
Well, I don't think he's been in the playoffs his entire career. So
never been in the playoffs.
You never know. There's a couple other guys. I thought these two guys, and again, I don't know how many snaps they're going to get, but I thought these two guys played very well against Philadelphia. Cordell Flott. And I think Flott played well the first game against Minnesota. Now, of course, he had that one interception go through his armpit and kind of hit the ground. That kind of changed things around. But that just goes to show that Kirk Cousins is definitely prone to turning it over. And again, I don't know what the deal is with Rodarius Williams this year. We talked about how he didn't practice well, so he's on the field. But when he's been out there, Rodarius Williams has played pretty well. So it's to me, it looks like the secondary seems like it's just going to be better and deeper this time around than it was the first time we played Minnesota. And I'm not saying that they still aren't going to be able to pass the ball because our secondary is great or anything, because Minnesota's got like Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkins, and we know Dalvin Cook can catch the ball out of the backfield. So they definitely got some weapons. But we're definitely a lot stronger defensively than we were the first time we played them. And for the most part, don't want to say held Minnesota in check, but it's not like they were just able to go up and down the field against us either. So I love the fact that we're getting healthy at the right time. And I think Minnesota is prone to being beat right now.
Here's an interesting dilemma. I mean, if you want to call it a dilemma. And by the way, folks, I see your questions coming in. Hang on to them. We'll do questions after we take a commercial break coming up in a little bit. But here's a dilemma, because I was talking with somebody today about this. Do you bring up anybody from the practice squad for this game, considering that you're healthy? And if so, who do you bring up, and how do they factor into the equation?
It's a good question. Going back to the wide receiver question real quick, I agree with you. Now, maybe Golladay will have a couple of targets, and maybe they could utilize him from within the 20. But you got to go with the guys that Daniel Jones has built chemistry with, and
yes.
That's Hodgins, that's Slayton, and that's Richie James, and they've built more and more of a rapport over the last couple of weeks. So I don't think he'll be out there for a certain number of snaps, but I don't look to see Kenny Golladay have a more expanded role come playoff time.
Yeah,
but maybe he gets a target or two in the red zone, and maybe he makes the most out of it. In terms of the practice squad, the guy they just picked up, Washington, he's not going to play. He doesn't know the playbook. He doesn't know the playbook, so he's not going to play. The one guy from last week,
defensive lineman, I would think, right?
Yes, for sure.
Because Leonard's neck is really, I get the impression Leonard's neck is more of a problem than they're letting on.
The one guy, and he's not from the practice. Well, he probably goes back and forth on the practice squad. The one guy who had a really good game last week that maybe he could get a couple more snaps than he normally does. Not a good blocker, but again, a pretty good weapon. I like the way Cager looked. And if you could utilize him maybe inside the 20, that's another guy. He's tall. He looked like he had playmaking ability this past week. I mean, the guy was making plays. So that's another guy I got my eye on. Maybe he gets a few extra snaps. If you want to count him as like a practice squad guy. But, I mean, we're healthy. You know, we got the majority of our guys that we want going into this game, but certainly could use maybe a little bit of extra boost on the defensive line like you talked about, because Leo's a little bit banged up.
You know, Duran Osmond just mentioned Jared Davis. I have a feeling we see a lot more of him this week, maybe at the expense of Micah McFadden. You guys?
Yeah, I don't think he'll start, but yes, I think he'll see the field.
Yeah, I mean, they got to do something with, you know, again, the tight end. You know, Dalvin Cook is it can be a problem if you don't have him guarded. So it just, you know, I think we're going to see a few changes on defense besides the obvious, you know, McKinney, obviously, and Adoree Jackson. Fingers crossed that nothing happens. You know, they still have another day, but, you know, it's going to be interesting to try and predict who's going to be inactive for this game. And, you know, here's what's cool about this, you know, in the playoffs, the salary cap is kind of gone out the window now. So you can move guys on and off and sign guys and stuff like that. And, you know, you don't have to worry about the salary cap because everybody's going to get the same salary unless they have it written in their contract to the contrary. So I'm very curious to see if the Giants do, you know, any additions or anything like that. I think they're going to probably take it as a week by week basis. I know they signed that guy Kinley, but he's to a reserve futures contract. So he's not, you know, we're not going to see him at all, but, yeah, some interesting personnel decisions I think this team can make. They might decide not to bring anybody up from the practice squad for all we know.
Yeah, who knows?
Who knows? I mean, this way they don't have to. They only have to deactivate, I think, 5 instead of 7 if they don't bring anybody up. If I've got that right. So, anyway, folks, let's take we're going to take our first break. When we come back, we'll start answering some of your questions. So just pop them into the comments box. And we'll get to some of your questions after we come back from this break. Hey, small business owners, if you're looking for the right people to help your small business fire on all cylinders, you need to check out LinkedIn Jobs today. Post a free job listing in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. Then add your job and the purple hiring hashtag framed to your LinkedIn profile to let everybody know that you're hiring. Over 40 million job seekers have visited LinkedIn Jobs every week and are just waiting to find opportunities with employers like your business. With LinkedIn Jobs, simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so that you can prioritize whom you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. And folks, I can speak from experience. I've been using LinkedIn Jobs to hire for my small business. And so far, I've been very pleased with the results. And I know you will be pleased with the results as well. So go ahead, post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Hey, Giant fans, if you have not tried Built Bars yet, what are you waiting for? You're depriving yourself of a delicious candy bar-like treat that has less sugar, less calories, and more protein than an actual candy bar. They're covered in real milk chocolate, and they melt in your mouth, and they taste great. Come in different flavors, both nut and nut-free variety, and they have a variety of different flavors available that rotates every so many weeks. What's also great about Built is that their bars are made with collagen protein, which provides a lot of health benefits. So eat something that tastes good and is good for you. And now you don't have to wait anymore for your box to ship from Built.com. Simply stop in at your local Walmart or Sam's Club and grab yourself a box of Built Bars, the delicious tasting treat that is sure to satisfy your sweet tooth. All right, everybody, welcome back to Locked On Giants Live. You got Traina, Tainah, and the dog.
Okay, a little bit of a subdued one. I
Little
get it.
Yeah.
subdued. By
That's
the
okay.
way, everybody,
Yes.
yes, we're at a
That's close.
giveaway
That's
on my Instagram channel. You know what? I might have an extra one lying around. If I find an extra one lying around, I might do another giveaway. Win, lose, or draw. I mean, pretty neat shirt, I think. I know they
that
were giving these out
slogan.
around the community. You have I don't know if you guys can see. You can see the little playoff logo there, but this is a nice shirt. I brought mine home, and my husband's like all ready to take it, and I said to him, "Nope, I'm giving mine." I gave mine away to a follower on Instagram. So, folks, make sure again that Instagram account. Let me just put it up here. This is a new Instagram account we started for Locked On Giants podcast. Check us out. Follow us. I'm trying to put up clips every day, interviews, all kinds of cool little features. And then if you want to follow me, my personal Instagram account is at Patty Traina. So I have other stuff there as well. That's probably my bigger account. So do follow me. It's appreciated. Trying to get to 2,000 followers on my personal account, maybe more. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it would be cool so that maybe Instagram will verify me. I've been trying to get verified on Instagram for months now. But anyway, thank you for your support of the Locked On Giants podcast. We're going to start answering some of your questions. So if you don't get your question answered right away, just keep asking them because we're getting a lot of questions coming in, and sometimes the screen scrolls really quickly, and I take my eyes off of it, and I might miss something. So let's go ahead and start answering some of these questions. Zach Attack 5858. How long have you been a Giants fan, and who's your favorite Giant player? Zach, I'm actually a credentialed member of the media. So technically my Giants fandom I had to put it aside. I mean, I grew up as a Giant fan. When I became a member of the media, I basically had to turn in the fan card because you have to be objective and everything like that. So I'm more of a fan of the game, but I do have a deep appreciation for the Giants organization. You can see behind me, I wrote a book about the Giants history, Big 50, Men and Moments that made the Giants. My favorite player, I don't really have one because I've met so many players over the years, and it's just not fair of me to name one guy because there's really no one that just I could say is my favorite, or I could probably list over scores of players that are that I've made friends with, that to this day, some of the older players, when I see them, they're like, they remember me, and I sit there and I'm like, wow, you remember me? So just really, really kind of cool. So, all right, Tainah, this one's for you from Fabian, and be honest.
What do I think about Patty? I think she's great. I mean, I think she is one of the, even before we started doing this show. When did we start doing this together? Like 2 years ago?
Oh, I know I had you on last year.
It's been a while.
We've been doing this weekly now.
Yeah, even before we started working together and talking with each other, she always seemed like one of the nicer and more down to earth members of the New York Giants beat. She would talk to me on Twitter. We were actually supposed to work together, I think, like 3 years ago, because she reached out to me then. And then we finally started doing something, I think, early last year, whenever we started doing it. So she was always nice to me, and she always seems like she's down to earth with everybody on Twitter. So, yeah, I think for anybody that gives her a bad rep, I don't understand it. I mean, she's open to the fans. She treats the fans well. And I think she gives you a well-informed opinion. And, and I listen now, especially because now I do the weekly show with Patty. And when I listen to the members of the media ask their questions, she's one of the few that I actually think takes the time out of her day to think of a well thought out question.
I agree.
A lot of the members of the media, you'll hear them ask questions and you'll be like, that guy just wants to click on his
yeah.
Like he's trying to get Brian Daboll to say something, or Saquon Barkley to say something, or Daniel Jones to say something. She's not like that. So I think she's great. I think I love doing this show with her. Hopefully we do this for a long time. Yeah.
The check's in the mail, by the way.
Patty, real quick, we were talking about. I know you don't get a vote for the Hall of Fame, but I know we were talking about that last week. There's two people that should be in the Hall of Fame. Now, I did a round table the other night with, and I'm going to say this right now. That was my brainchild. You see all these round tables from everyone in the division. I started that in 2020. I'm taking credit for that. Okay? I'm taking credit for that. So the original guys that I do this with, I got a Redskins, listen to me. Commanders fan, Cowboys, and Eagles. Now I went off. You want to talk about being pumped up? I was talking that. I was talking the smack to those guys because I haven't been able to do that. And I legitimately said, and I totally, and everyone's like, "You're insane." Maybe I am insane. Well, I am. But I'm telling you, I swear to God, and I argue this all the time. Tiki Barber is better than Emmitt Smith. Tiki Barber is a Hall of Famer. Why is Tiki Barber not in the Hall of Fame? The man started for 7 years. He's 7 years. He started from 2000 to 2006. The man had over 10,000 rushing yards, averaged 4.7 yards a carry, had over 5,000 receiving yards. He led the league in yards from scrimmage the last 2 seasons in the league. He had 3,500 rushing yards his last 2 years. Why is that guy not in the Hall of Fame? What is going on? I know he said some stupid things. He's a Hall of Fame running back. Put the man in the Hall of Fame. The other guy is Eric Allen. Eric Allen was one of the greatest cornerbacks I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. And I know he played for a few teams. He played for my hated team, the Eagles. He's my favorite Eagle of all time. I was a big Eric Allen fan. I played for the Saints, played for the Raiders. Eric Allen was a great cornerback. Those two guys belong in the Hall of Fame. And I just keep scratching my head going, how do they decide? Well, you just said it. Politics.
Yeah. Politics. The way it works, I do have some familiarity with the process. So basically, the Hall of Fame committee goes into a conference room at the Super Bowl. I think it's the Saturday before the actual game, and they sit around, and I think different members make cases for different players. So, like if a Giant is up for a Hall of Fame, it'll probably be a member from the New York media, and there's a pro and a con, and it's a whole big presentation. It's like a sales pitch. And at the end of the presentations, they vote. It's a secret ballot, so they do the vote. The votes are tallied, and I'm not sure how it's decided. I think there's a maximum number they can put in, but it might be, you have to have so many votes. That part I'm not clear on, but it involves making a presentation. And I remember when Harry Carson kept being nominated and rejected. Vinny Detrani, I don't know if you guys remember Vinny Detrani. He used to work for The Record. Great sports writer, by the way. We call him the Sage. He's really good. He's got to be. He's Italian. Awesome dude. By the way. But he used to present for Harry, and every year it was the same stuff. Politics. I had heard stories that one voter said, well, Harry was always looking to get traded, or he was causing problems and acting like a big. Who cares? Yeah, it has nothing to do with this playing the field. With what he did on the field. So you have that kind of, I know what happened to Major League Baseball too. Guys like Jim Rice, guys like Eddie Murray. Yep. They weren't friendly with the media, so they had a harder time getting in. Whereas a guy like David Ortiz, who doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame, and we all know why he don't belong in the Hall of Fame. He's in there right away because he's pro. I love David Ortiz. So but Tiki Barber. It is an absolute crime that man is not in Canton, Ohio. Patty, I'll present for Tiki. No, you got to save it for Eli. Chris named his dog after Tiki Barber.
I named my dog
battle. I'm telling you right now, Eli's going to have an uphill battle. I'm calling it right now.
All right, here's what I'm going to say about Eli.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Here's what I'm going to say about Eli Manning. Know it. Okay. The only reason it's going to be an uphill battle for Eli Manning is because of his last name and because he played in New York. Because if you look at it logically, he's one of only 3 quarterbacks in the history of football to win a Super Bowl by taking up more than 10% of his team's cap. He did it twice. The method in which he won the Super Bowls, he has the Iron Man record outside of Brett Favre. He has the second longest consecutive streak. He's top 10 in every major category a quarterback could ever be in.
He's a 2-time Super Bowl MVP. I think 4 of the quarterbacks have done that.
4 of the quarterbacks: Joe Montana, Tom Brady,
Terry Bradshaw, right? Bart Starr.
It's ridiculous that it's even a conversation. And when you think about it, the Giants won 2 Super Bowls within a 5-year span, 2007 and 2008.
They should have won in 2008. We know that too.
Yeah.
If Eli Manning does not make the Hall of Fame, there will be no Hall of Famers that played on both of those teams. Traina played on the first, didn't play on the second. There will be no Hall of Famers that played on both of those teams. How is that possible? How do you win 2 Super Bowls in a 4 or 5 year stretch, but you don't have any Hall of Famers?
Justin Tuck played him. Oh, he's not a Hall of
He's not
Famer.
gonna be a Hall of Famer.
Strahan's in the Hall of Fame.
But he
He
only
didn't
played
play in
one.
11.
He didn't play in both.
Oh, okay. Both.
Yeah, I'm saying a guy that played in both for
Okay.
both Super Bowl teams.
No, yeah, you're right.
Eli Manning
You're right.
absolutely
But we'll see.
belongs in the Hall of
I
Fame.
mean, maybe.
Listen,
maybe
there's one quarterback in the history of football that won multiple Super Bowls is not in the Hall of Fame. It's Jim Plunkett. But Jim Plunkett did not have a good career. When he got to the Raiders, he got better because the Patriots were a disaster when he was there. And he didn't have a good career outside of those. Eli Manning did have a good career. And people can look at the interceptions. Well, he threw less interceptions than his brother. He threw less interceptions than Brett Favre. He threw less interceptions than Dan Marino. He threw less interceptions than a lot of Hall of Fame quarterbacks. He may not have had the passing attempts that they did, but still, you can't deny a guy that's top 10 in every major passing category, a 2-time Super Bowl MVP, and say that guy's not a Hall of Famer. What the hell else does somebody need to do?
Watch it happen.
Bob Greasy's in the Hall of Fame.
That's the gut feeling on my part, but I have a feeling.
No, I agree. I don't think he's going to get him right away. He'll get in, but I don't think he'll get him right away.
All right. Let's get to some more questions. Tori B asked about Jones's contract situation. Tori, I'm actually working on an article over on Giants Country in which I'm going to try and lay out what I think Daniel's going to get, not just total value, but I'm actually going to try and break it out with all the little mechanisms that they could do to make this contract work. I did something similar with Odell's contract a few years ago. I did that for Forbes, and I actually came within, I think, $10 million of being close to what he actually got. So that's coming. I'm still kind of working at that. What I will say, Tori, though, is I think Daniel's got to get at least per year, at least whatever the franchise tag is.
Which is 30.
If I'm his agent and I accept anything less, then I should turn in my accreditation, to be an agent.
So you think Jones, and again, there's going to be, like you said, there's
going to be things that they can do.
There's going to be ways to knock down
and
the
I'm going to go over that.
And you'll go over it.
And I keep talking.
You think Jones is looking at 4 years, 124, 4 years, 128, 3 years, 96. You think it's in that ballpark, that $32 million number. That's what you're thinking.
That's what I'm guessing. I've got to sit down and I've got to really, put it together. And I started to do that, obviously with the playoffs, I'm more focused on that, but that is something I'm going to put out, not too long after, hopefully not until next month, because hopefully that means the Giants are playing in the Super Bowl and I won't have to worry about it. I know I'm dreaming, but I am going to.
It's okay to dream,
as well as something for Saquon too. I want to do something on Saquon as well, but the reports, and by the way, I know some people asked about this, the reports last week from WFAN that Daniel and the Giants were close.
Oh, Boomer,
was told that was not the case. And the person that told me this would know. So, and sure enough, if they were that close and it was imminent.
Well, there you go, guys.
By now.
There you go. He would know. So you could draw your conclusions to that.
Yeah.
So,
well, don't you think the way he performs in the playoffs will have something to do? I mean, Daniel Jones could have a huge
deep into the playoffs. That's gonna.
Exactly. He's just going to get more money if he comes out there and he balls out. Even if they lost and he had a great game, you're going to say, well, he obviously can perform in the postseason, and that's especially in New York. This is where you're really, really measured. I mean, he's definitely. I turned around on Daniel Jones. Okay, I definitely became a believer. And Daniel Jones, and I know a lot of fans did this. Of course, he still has his detractors. He still has people that don't believe he's a franchise quarterback and all this other stuff. He's going to have those. I mean, that's just people's opinion. That's every player pretty much, except unless you're like a guy like Pat Mahomes. Everybody's like, oh, Pat Mahomes. But, if Daniel Jones is a great postseason, you're measured by what especially in New York. And that's why I was like, you and ask Alex Rodriguez. Alex Rodriguez won 2 MVPs of the Yankees, and he had terrible postseasons, and they crucified him here. Phil Simms got killed for much of his career, and then he won a Super Bowl. The man, Eli, it's the same thing. They were harsh about Eli. Wins the Super Bowl. Everything's forgiven. You win a championship in New York. It doesn't matter even what you do after that.
Right,
you will always be revered and loved. I always say those Knicks teams in the 90s, they're loved anyway. They show John Starks at Madison Square Garden, crowd goes crazy. Allen Houston, Patrick Ewing, whoever. Ewing's not going to be there, but when he comes there as a coach, assistant coach, whatever, the crowd reacts. And I always said those guys would have just won one championship.
Oh, they'd be gone.
I mean, number 3 would be retired. There's no question John Starks' number would be retired. Charles Oakley's number probably. It's just things are different when you win a championship. Ask the Eagle fans. I mean, Nick Foles has a statue. Nick Foles has a statue.
And just to borrow on a point that Ernie Accorsi made, and he was telling the story. He told me the story for the book that I wrote. He said he knew Eli Manning was the guy because they were looking for a guy that when the chips were down, could he carry the team over the finish line? Jones has carried this team over the finish line. What, 5 times this season?
Well, it should have been 6. The drive against Minnesota too.
6, exactly.
When Shane was interviewed,
the deeper Jones takes them into the playoffs, he continues to play well. He's gonna have a nice little paycheck. People are going to say, well, there's no way he's going to get the amount of money that per year that Pat Mahomes is getting or that Josh Allen is getting. There are mechanisms, and the contracts are going to be structured differently. And for those of you who are new on the live show tonight, once we get to the off season, I keep talking about it, but I am going to do a salary cap show. I'm going to try and
I'm looking forward to
the salary cap stuff. That is coming.
I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there. My pen and paper taking notes.
Show. Matter of fact, you guys can come and
I'll be asking you questions, but
that's fine. That's fine.
But the other thing I'll bring up is Shane came out and said exactly what you just said about what Ernie Accorsi said about Eli Manning if you recall at the bye this year when he basically answered questions about players on the team and yada yada yada. They said, "What do you think about your quarterback this year? What do you think about the play from Daniel Jones?" He did say he needs to continue to evaluate him, but the way that he judges his quarterbacks is the way they perform in what he said, the got to have it moments. That was the exact term that he used. And he said, when Jones has been presented with the got to have it moments, he's given it to us. And he's only proven to continue to do that since the bye. So he's coming back as he should. He's done a great job this year for the New York Giants.
Are probably crying right now, but hey, I had one guy on my channel who kept calling me stupid because I said, Daniel's coming back. And he said, you're stupid. You don't know what you're talking about. I said, we'll see who's stupid. Meanwhile, the guy had all kinds of spelling mistakes and stuff, which, by the way, I took the high road. I didn't point out. I just said, okay, we'll see who's stupid and who's not. But anyway, Kaylin Chabal asked, would it be better to start Phillips? That would be Tyree Phillips over Evan Neal with his less than optimal knee. I'm kind of split on that. Phillips hasn't been bad, but I think you also have to take into consideration the confidence level. Look, these guys at this point of the year, nobody's 100%.
Right.
You got to push through certain things. And I know, I said earlier that it's been affecting Neal's technique. He's bending more at the waist as opposed to at the knees like he should be. But you've got to learn to play through things. If you get the green light from the training staff, you've got to learn to play through things. I mean, Leonard Williams is playing with a really bad neck. No. And, if his neck gets twisted the wrong way or something like that, he gets like a stinger, like a numbness all the way down his shoulders. All right. That's got to be painful.
Yeah.
But you know what? Nobody's playing this time of year that isn't dealing with something. And you have to kind of power through it a little bit. As long as it's not something that, God forbid, is going to change your life. Well,
listen, he must have been good enough because he was one of the few starters that played last week. So,
he's going to play.
Well, I know he's going to play, but I'm saying his knee must be, obviously it's not 100%, but it must not be bad enough because if they felt that there was any chance he could re-injure it badly or he couldn't go, there's no reason that they would have played it.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's definitely going to play.
They will not put a guy out there if there is a risk of him making his injury worse. If there is no risk of that injury getting any worse, it's like, okay, rub some dirt on it and go.
Yes, rub some dirt. I say that all the time.
Yep.
My kid takes a header. I make sure he's okay. All right, sorry, buddy. Rub some dirt on it.
Rub some dirt on it and go.
My kid takes some spills. He definitely doesn't cry. If my kid does cry, though, I know something like he really.
When I was a kid,
interesting topic I want to bring up to you guys.
My father was like that too with me. My father was like,
you're fine. Get up.
He'd make sure he's like, okay, nothing.
You look him over. Come on, buddy. You're fine.
Go back,
Like daddy falls down too still.
Yeah. All right.
Hey,
Hey,
I wanted
hello
to I wanted to
Lou.
show this to you guys because I saw somebody in the chat bring up something similar, but I'll wait till you because I
No,
want
I just wanted to say
yeah,
hello to
go
Lou.
ahead.
I'm trying to say hello to the new people. If you're new, give me a shout out, and I'll try and put your comment on the screen. I'm doing the best I can to try and bring as many of these onto the screen as I can. So I do see a lot of new faces in here. The attendance looks like it's at an all-time high. So
Really?
thank you. Oh yeah,
We're ready for the playoffs, Giants. Man. Playoffs.
Well, they came to see you bouncing off the wall.
I don't think so.
About
They see us on our channel, so
yes,
they're here to see you.
Me?
You're the star of this one, Patty.
Nah.
Yes.
Nah.
Of course, it's your channel.
This
You're the
is your
host.
show, Patty. We're just invited guests.
We're just here to talk.
And you guys just do such a great job.
Yeah,
We
we
have
try.
fun on this show.
By the way, your check is in the mail, Patty.
I hope it's a 4-figure check.
By the way, I want to show you guys what Patty gave me for Christmas. Hold on one. I showed it on my channel, but I haven't shown it on yours.
Oh my gosh. You're actually going to do this. Okay. It was my way of saying thank you to him. So
on Christmas, she mails me. I get it. She asked me for my address. I'm like, oh no, what is she gonna do? So
you thought I was going to send him a hate letter.
I get plenty of those. Hate mail. I was like, I made it. I got hate mail. I made it.
So I open up my the what she gives me, and this is what and a nice card as well, but this is what was in the package, guys.
Oh man.
I'm gonna frame this next year when I get my office set up, but Jeremy Shockey signed jersey, guys.
Mine is somewhere down here. Who knows?
It was so awesome. Thank you again for that. I appreciate it.
I think like I said, you guys don't have to do this. I know you guys do your own show, and I appreciate you coming on. And we have a good time. We have a good discussion. We have a great audience that comes in.
Yep.
So I'm just really
Same
thankful.
here. It was the same thing.
There you go.
We
It was
were
awesome.
Shockey.
My wife loves to open the stuff. So I saw the Shockey jersey. I'm like, that's awesome. She goes, it's autographed. I'm like, it is. I'm like, I didn't see that at first. So yeah,
My
that was
husband
awesome.
does the same thing. Or he'll bring home a package. Something will come in the post office box, and he'll come home and he'll give it to me. And he goes, "Can I open it?" I'm like, "No, is it addressed to you?" But
I always let her, or whenever I get to
he's like, "But I want to open." But if it's not addressed to me per se, if it's addressed to the business, he'll open it, even though I'm in charge of the business. He's like, "Well, I picked it up, so I'm opening it." I'm like, "All right."
Yeah, every time I come home with stuff or swing by my P.O. box, get stuff, she wants to open it. Now, I've gotten some interesting things. I've definitely had some troll jobs. I got a package from Australia. There's a Cowboy shirt.
Oh.
I'm like, that guy trolled me from around the world. Now, I had a guy, he's actually a really good Eagle fan. He's always on my page. His name is the Phillies Ace. He's Johnny Letourneau. He actually said, and again, this wasn't a troll gift. I've said that my favorite Eagle jersey was the one from the 80s. I always liked the jersey with the spread eagle, the wings spread out and everything else. And I liked that, Kelly Green, and Eric Allender was my favorite Eagle. And he sent me an Eric Allender's. Now, I didn't know it was from him. Like, who the hell sent me a Philadelphia Eagles jersey? I got a Boston Red Sox hat.
Oh my!
I've gotten things like that, and I burned it. I don't want no. That tells you everything you need to know about the Boston Red Sox and me. That doesn't fly.
That doesn't shock.
But I have had things like that since I've gotten hate mail. I've gotten.
No, watch somebody.
The day I got that, I go, I made it. I literally have hate mail. I'm like, I definitely have made it somehow, some way.
Oh my goodness!
If I could go and take time to write a letter and tell me how much they did not like me, I'm like,
you made it.
That was pretty funny. I laughed. I was like, that was amazing. It's one thing to get that on Twitter or Instagram or YouTube. For someone to take time to write a letter, I'm like, you're thinking about me quite a bit there. Thank you.
You're living rent free in their head, right?
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Big Moo asks, if McKinney plays, do you think Wink will give him the green dot back first game back? McKinney actually played in the Colts game, didn't he? If I remember correctly. Yeah, I know. It seems like it was so long ago. So I believe he did get the green dot. So yes, that's you don't have to worry about that. All right. Larosity, who was the funniest Giant player you ever met? Oh my gosh.
Can I guess? Can I guess?
Every year is like somebody who's. I'll tell you.
I would say Eli.
I was going to say Eli.
Eli has a wicked sense of humor. Hottie is pretty funny too. I had a laugh. Wednesday we come into a locker room. And it's funny because some of the media got pissed off at this. I thought it was funny. I was kind of chuckling. So they said, "Okay, locker room is open to the media." And so they usually announce to the players, "Media is coming, media is coming." So I think it was Hottie Ward and he had it queued up perfectly. And as soon as the first batch of media came in, you heard wah wah wah. I just started laughing because I mean, look, it's a love-hate relationship, but it was just, he's funny. He's just very,
He's always posted on like Instagram.
Oh, he's hilarious. I think he's hilarious. And
a lot of those guys seem like they're pretty funny when they ask the questions on Instagram. Like they said, "Who's your favorite Lil rapper?"
Yeah.
And they all said Lil Wayne. And I actually commented on there. I go, none of them are old enough to remember Lil Troy. Now, if you're my age, you probably do remember Lil Troy's "Want to Be a Baller." That was like a late 90s thing. I used to love that song. He was one of the masterpiece Silk Shocker guys from New Orleans in the late 90s, but I'm like, they don't know who that is. They're not old enough to remember who that is because they weren't even born. But everybody knows Lil Wayne. No one knows Lil Troy. I remember Lil Troy.
There's a lot of littles.
Yeah.
What about Lil Romeo?
Yeah.
What about Lil Bow Wow?
Lil Bow Wow.
There you go.
That was it. Lil Bow Wow.
Lil Bow Wow.
You guys are dating. Now you're dating yourselves. You realize
Yeah,
that, right?
I'm old.
All right. Let me see. Manny Festo INS. Is it me or does Daboll seem to give Jordan Renan a bit of a different attitude than the rest of the media? I haven't noticed it. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I mean, Daboll seems to be even keel with everybody. I mean, some answers,
maybe not Pat Leonard.
Some questions get a little more detailed answered. I guess, look, everybody needs to understand something about the job we do. I know a lot of fans say, "Oh, I could do a better job than the media."
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of you guys can, but it's also how you ask the question. There's a way to ask questions. And I know this because when I was in graduate school, believe it or not, I took a course in how to ask questions and interviewing. And it's made a huge difference for me because, the last thing you want to do is you want to come off as a jerk. And sometimes you don't intend to come off as a jerk, but it's all in how you word it. And it's tricky. I've been doing it a long time. And actually, believe it or not, sometimes in my spare time in the off season, I actually serve as a consultant for interviews, to help people who are preparing for interviews. Like I teach them about body language and stuff like that. Because if you read somebody's body language when you're interviewing them, you can adjust. There's a whole art to it. I won't go into it because I don't want to bore you guys. But, yeah, I mean, sometimes, and then there are days like today, for example, Daboll, if you look at a lot of his answers, they were short. Yeah. So it could be he's busy. Maybe
he's getting ready for the game.
I don't think it's necessarily he doesn't like this guy or he likes this person better than the other. That's just my take. I mean, I could be wrong, but that's how I would see it.
He's getting ready to win on Sunday.
Yeah, he's getting his game based on right now. He's thinking about the football game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, okay, let's see. Papa Gusso, by the way, said that he likes me, but he likes Chris a little bit better. I should hope so.
It's understandable.
I should hope so.
I understand that.
All right, let's see. Mike Nixon wants to know, do you think the Giants will use the Wildcat formation a little? We haven't seen that in a while. It's true. Would you get cutesy? If you're given what's at stake.
Did we see it against Minnesota? We saw it in one of the later games where they ran it in for a touchdown.
Yeah, I don't remember if it was Minnesota or wasn't it
Washington?
Might have been Washington. I think it was Washington. So,
but would you get cute? I mean, or would you? I mean, you haven't seen.
I think it depends on the situation. I can see like Wildcat, maybe like 3rd and 2 from the goal, like 3rd and goal from the 2.
That's the only place I could see it at the goal line.
Something like that. I wouldn't be using it like in midfield. You may see it in this game at some point is a little hurry up. I mean, a change of pace. I always felt like Eli was really good in the 2-minute warning. I'm like, why don't they pick up the pace a little bit? And I feel like Daniel Jones is pretty good in maybe not the hurry up, but the no huddle, where they just get to the line of scrimmage and they might not snap it right away, but when he's able to kind of audible make his own plays, I felt like they get in a bit of a rhythm. It seems like it does help some offenses a little bit, but again, you don't want to get in a shootout in Minnesota. So maybe one series you try to surprise them a little no huddle, and they're not ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're going to see a lot of quarterbacks runs in this game.
Yeah,
I do too.
Like some zone reads and RPOs and stuff. Yeah, I think you're going to see a lot more of that.
That might be our best weapon right now. Is Daniel Jones?
I think so too.
Maybe even more so than Saquon's legs.
Pull out the stops. And here's another interesting question I'll throw out to you guys as well as to everybody who's listening. Do you think in the first Minnesota game that maybe the Giants held a little bit back, thinking that there was a possibility that maybe they would see them in the playoffs, even though they talked about, oh, we're not worried about the playoffs, we're not in, we let one game at a time. Do you think maybe Daboll and Kafka and Wink said, we're going to hold just a little bit back?
I mean, I think they've been evolving this offense every week all year. I don't think they're done. I think there's more that they're going to show in the playoffs that we haven't seen yet, but the offense just seems to evolve week over week over week over week. The first 6, 7, 8 weeks seem very predictable, redundant, 2 tight ends, a lot of, running the football 60% of the time. As the years progressed, they kind of graduated to that quick passing game. And you saw that a lot, I think, in the Washington game. And you've seen them do that. That's kind of been like a substitute for running it, say 60% of the time. Now we're throwing it 55, 58% of the time. But a lot of those throws are swing passes to Barkley, quick throws on quick slants. So that's kind of been what they've used instead of running the ball. It's been the quick passing game. But you've seen this offense evolve week over week over week over week. And I think they got something planned for the playoffs. I don't think they've shown all their cards yet. I'll say that right
to
now.
your point,
especially against Philadelphia. I think that again, you have to get by Minnesota, which is easier said than done. I mean, I'm not going to sit there and go, I guarantee. I definitely think we're winning the game.
Right.
But one thing I was encouraged by, number one, I felt like the defense did a really good job. And again, Rodarius Williams and Cordell Flott, I thought played really well in that game. But watching Davis Webb be able to run, I don't know, those were really RPOs as much as they were quarterback draws. But I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, if this is Daniel Jones, because Daniel Jones has had major success doing that against Philadelphia because of their aggressive defense. And I just sit there and think if Davis Webb could do this, and I loved when Davis Webb trucked that defender into the end zone. That really got me fired up because Chris Natte, it was kind of just a fun stream. We're not really expecting too much. It is what it is. You got your backups, your third strings in there. But, man, when Davis Webb got that touchdown, that fired me up. That got me going. That was so awesome.
Davis Webb almost trucked me in the locker room the other day. By accident. He wasn't watching. I kind of wasn't watching, and he bumped into and when he realized, he's like, oh, my God. I said to him, come on, is that the best you got? So he just it was.
Patty, I wanted to ask you, because I don't remember if we knew that. I don't think we knew Davis Webb was definitely starting the game. Was that more, and again, you would know better than us, was that more because they didn't want Tyrod Taylor to risk injury, or was that like a reward to Davis Webb for helping out?
I think it was a reward. I actually found out about it the night before, that was probably the direction it was going in. Somebody inside the locker room kind of tipped me off to that, but I think it was a reward. Davis hadn't really gotten his chance. And look, this guy, I know some fans are like, ugh, Davis Webb. He has really been key to helping Daniel Jones develop the way he has. He knows that offense probably as well as Daboll and Kafka at this point, because he ran it up in Buffalo. So I think it was a reward. And, look, Tyrod Taylor, I think they know what Tyrod can do. There's a lot of film on him. There wasn't a lot of film on Davis. So maybe they could spring a few surprises here and there, and also plant the seed of, okay, you thought it was going to be Tyrod, but we got a surprise for you. So the tea leaves started to kind of come together. And, I was really happy that he got his opportunity and that he took his opportunity and made the most of it. Davis, though, being the professional he is, he's like, well, I wasn't happy with how I started off the game, but I guess it finished up well.
I mean, he hadn't thrown a pass in how long? He was going to be rusty. I mean, it was obvious he was rusty.
It was building up the chemistry and everything like
Right.
that, the timing and stuff. But, just to go back, I want to go back to something that Chris said about the evolution of the offense. Earlier in the season, you saw a lot more heavy packages, a lot more 13, 12 personnel, some 23. Sometimes you saw some 20. And ever since these three receivers, Slayton, Richie James, and Hodgins have kind of stepped up, you've noticed they've gone more toward the 11 personnel. So I'll have to look that up because that's actually an interesting stat. But ever since they started stepping up, I'm pretty sure they've run more 11 personnel than they've run the 12.
Yeah, I actually had Nick Filato on my channel on Wednesday, and he brought that exact point up. He said we've been running almost exclusively 11 personnel, and
you can do much more with 11 personnel.
And you'll notice when you watch the games, like think off the top of your head, like the first 8 games this year, how many times did we run shotgun formation, 4 wide, empty backfield? We really didn't ever. It's happening a lot these last.
Do you also think that's part of them believing more in the offensive line?
I think we're coming down a little bit with Bredesen back and Gates and that rotation. So that's kind of how. And by the way, for those not familiar, I know there's some people who say, well, what's 11 personnel stuff? Then when we refer to a number on personnel on offense, the first number is running backs. The second one is tight ends. Yeah. So 11 personnel would be 1 running back, 1 tight end. Yeah. And that, which would mean 3 receivers. So that's how, 20 personnel is 2 running backs, no tight ends. So that's how you can kind of tell what we're talking about if you're not familiar with the terminology. So, all right. Giants Mafia wants to know, do you think the Giants would defer in an overtime coin toss since both teams get possessions? I feel like that's smarter now.
No.
Nah.
Not. I mean, maybe depending on the team. So. I would never, because you could win with a touchdown. But especially in this game, maybe you can make that argument if we were going up against a bad offense. You're going up against a good offense and a horrible defense. It's a defense that you should have a pretty good chance to go down the field and score a touchdown and end the game. Well, in the playoffs, they get a rebuttal. You got to remember that, right? That's the difference in the rules. In the regular season, you score a touchdown, the game's over.
Yeah, I think each team gets a possession.
So with that rule, that actually, you know what? With that rule change, you may see teams have a rebuttal in overtime. I didn't even think about that for the playoffs because you're getting a drive no matter what. And if they start with the ball, you know what you have to do, right? So if you hold them to a field goal, all you need is a field goal to tie it, or you could win it with a touchdown. If they score a touchdown, you still have your opportunity to score a touchdown and tie the game. I didn't even think about that. It might be smart to defer in the playoffs.
It might be, but
I think it would depend. I think it would depend on how you felt about each unit, though. Like if your offense is lighting it up, you're probably going to want your offense on the field. Whereas if your defense is killing it, you're going to yes, let the defense start.
Yeah,
so maybe it depends on which unit's been playing better in the game. But yeah, it's definitely a possibility where, like you said before, if one team just got a possession and scored and it was over, you would never defer because you want the opportunity to end the game yourself. So yeah, now with that rule change, which I like in the playoffs much better. Anyway, it's definitely a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Well, it depends on the flow.
Let's hope we don't have to relive that. Let's just win this thing in regulation.
Just win it. Exactly. Yeah. I hate overtime. It's a late game, 4:35 start. Y'all know how I feel about late games. If it's give me 1 o'clock games or give me nothing, But all right, I've got to cover them nonetheless. But Jacob Achuzzi, any backing to the rumors that they are close to a deal for Jones, or have you not heard that rumor? Jacob, I commented on that earlier. That rumor was dispelled. I had put something up on Giants Country reporting that rumor from WFAN, who originated that, and I was told by someone who would know that rumor was not accurate. And just go back to what Joe Shane said during the bye week. He said, we'll talk about extending some guys. And if we don't get it done, we'll defer till after the season. So I can't see, your quarterback is your most important guy. Do you really want the distraction of contract talks going back and forth? So no.
Well, think about it from Jones' perspective too, with how much quarterbacks make and how big this contract could potentially be. what incentive at this point does Daniel Jones have to sign a contract before the start of the playoffs?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I'm
How
saying.
far
None.
is
If
he gonna
you're
go?
Daniel Jones and you go on an unforeseen run to the Super Bowl, suddenly you're a $40 million a year quarterback.
Right.
So to me,
Even if it's not from the Giants.
yeah. So to me, for Jones, there's nothing
Yeah.
to lose. He already knows he's getting that $28 to $32 million a year, even if he gets knocked out in the first round. If it's from the Giants or somebody else, he's getting that.
He's playing with house money at this
So
point.
if you're Daniel Jones, you say to yourself, I go out
Oh,
there,
absolutely.
I can win three playoff games. I might get $40 million a year. So there's no incentive for Jones to sign a contract before the playoffs start.
Right. It absolutely makes no sense to do it
Yeah, he'd
now.
be
So,
shortchanging
all right,
himself at that point.
this is a good question. Actually, I'm glad Juice brought this up because I've been meaning to write an article on that, but I'm a little behind on my editing and stuff. So, but I'll get to it eventually. Is a play for DeAndre Hopkins possible? All right, I'm going to throw this out at you guys. We've talked about this on the show before about how the free agent wide receiver class, as of right now, doesn't look very appealing.
Yeah.
We talked about how the draft class, there are some good receivers. DeAndre Hopkins, I think, is what,
31. I think he'll be 31 at least. I think
30 years old, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, 30,
Would you consider floating, say, a second round pick and maybe a fifth and maybe a conditional pick in next year's draft? When I mean next year, I mean 2024, 2023. No, wait, 2024. I had it right the first time. Would you consider that for a guy if you knew that DeAndre Hopkins could maybe give you at least 2 solid years?
Yeah, here's the
Yes.
thing with DeAndre Hopkins. When I heard the rumors, I posted my opinion on Twitter, and I said for the right deal, I'd be interested. And then naturally, everybody spams my tweet with, get Brandon Ayuk. Why would the 49ers trade Brandon Ayuk? Of course I'd want Brandon Ayuk. He's 24 years old. He's got a ton of talent. He's under contract for another couple of years. You're talking about a Super Bowl contender. Everybody says you also have to think about it from a realistic standpoint. You have to look at guys that teams are probably going to be looking to trade at that position. And generally speaking, you're not going to be looking to trade a 24-year-old wide receiver.
Right. That's why when people talk about T. Higgins, it's like, why would the Bengals
they
trade
do
T.
it?
Higgins?
Right, exactly.
Like, I would love T. Higgins, of course.
Hopkins, we know, I think, wants out of
Hopkins is
Arizona.
going to be traded.
And Arizona is going to go through a whole renaissance anyway.
Yeah, and he also wants a new deal. So maybe you get him. And if you're going to cut Golladay, you kind of swap out the salaries.
But that's the thing that I don't like. I don't think I'd want to give DeAndre Hopkins a new deal. If I could have him on the 2 years remaining, I'm okay with that.
Well, if you're trading for him, then I would say no. But if say, for example, I don't know if they would cut him. I doubt they would cut him. I don't think they'll cut him.
Yeah. I don't think I'd want to have to trade because he's 31 years old next year. He's had injuries in the past. But if I don't have to extend him, and I think he's $34 million against the cap over the next 2 years, or 36. It's about $18 million.
Just the base salary.
Yeah,
he's got no guaranteed money left.
Yeah, it's about whatever it is. It's about $18 million a year on average, which is not that much in today's market for wide receivers with the cap going up. If I didn't have to extend him and I get him for less than a first-round pick, yeah, I'd be interested. I think he could help this offense evolve. I wouldn't give up a first-round pick for him, but if I get 2/3, yeah, I'd be interested in DeAndre Hopkins. Make no mistake about it.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that because, the Giants, I'd be fine giving up a second-round pick, I think.
So would I.
I would not.
Get a guy like DeAndre Hopkins, a veteran guy like that who catches everything. And again, that wouldn't stop the Giants from drafting another wide receiver.
Right.
Again, the receiver class is really deep. But DeAndre Hopkins would be a perfect guy. He would give Daniel Jones a number one or something very close to a number one. He certainly has not had a receiver like that in his entire career with the Giants. And, he's one of the best out there. So for a second round pick, I could see that. A second, a fifth, like 2/3. Yeah.
It's almost a third round pick now because we're picking late. We're not used to that.
Exactly.
It's a late second round.
So,
pick.
I could definitely get on board with that. I wouldn't give up a first for him, but I would give up, like you said, Patty, second and fifth or a couple thirds or whatever.
Yeah. And then maybe a conditional pick down the line or something like that.
Right.
Absolutely. JC Word asks, I know Eli is busy, but do you know if he's the sounding board for Daniel? I do know that they've had some conversations. Daniel said that the other day, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Eli also, don't forget, he does work for the team. So he is around the facility, and I'm sure they run into each other, whether it be in a lunchroom or whatever. So yeah, I'm pretty sure they've had conversations. Like I said, Daniel said that he's kind of reached out to him a little bit. Strahan's been around too, and I know Strahan has talked to a few guys. So you've got guys around there who have playoff experience, who are there as sounding boards, and they're giving sound advice. It's just, guys, this is another game. It's the important game because it's the next game you have to play.
The real question is, does Chad Powers talk to Daniel Jones?
Chad Powers, God bless him. He got all these Dunkin' Donuts gift cards. I mean, God bless that dude. I had Dunkin' Donuts coffee this morning. Oh man, that was good.
America runs on Dunkin'.
And I am not a coffee drinker. I said,
really?
No, I hate
coffee.
I
am.
But I liked the coffee I had this morning from Dunkin' Donuts.
Did you get like a special flavor?
What's that?
You get like a special flavor?
No, I got decaf straight up. I got it black. I don't put cream or sugar in it.
That's how I drink my coffee too now, black.
Yeah, I'm like, dang, this was good. I told my husband, I said, I'm going back tomorrow and I'm getting more.
I'm a big time, huge coffee drinker. It doesn't matter what time of day. It doesn't matter where it's from either. It could be Dunkin' Donuts. There's a place up here called Stewart's. It's a chain of convenience stores in upstate New York.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, I think they're in Vermont too. Really good. Anybody that lives up here could tell you Stewart's is really good coffee. They have really good ice cream. The headquarters is up near where I live. They make really good ice cream. But Dunkin' Donuts, Starbucks, my own coffee. It doesn't matter. My son got me some coffee for Christmas, and it was amazing. It's a maple pecan Starbucks brew, and I love coffee. I'm addicted to. I mean, people watch me. I drink a 2-liter Coke Zeros all the time. I'm addicted to caffeine. Like I can't. That's why I'm so damn wired the way I am.
It's all good. See, I've got to cut back on the caffeine. Too much caffeine, and I don't sleep at night. And I got to, I need my Z's. Otherwise,
if I don't get enough caffeine, I get a headache. It's like my body needs
I can't
it.
do that.
I drink way too much coffee.
I have natural energy, so I don't have to worry about it.
I do too. That's what's scary about the amount of caffeine that
with my new job, I drink 4 cups a day during work. Like just to stay awake. Like every time I go on break, I get a cup of coffee. So it definitely, I got to cut down a little bit.
I will say this much, I was never a big fan of seltzer, and flavored seltzers. And, I used to drink a lot of Coke Zero and, Pepsi Zero and the sugar-free,
yes,
sodas.
That's where it's at.
It didn't sit well with me. So finally, I reached out to my Twitter following. I said, can anybody recommend a good, flavored soda? And somebody recommended, I think it's called Spindrift. And I love that stuff. My husband bought me a case of it, and I go through it like crazy. Love it. No caffeine, low calories, because it's natural fruit juice mixed in, and it tastes good. And I've been drinking that, in place of, the Diet Cokes, because it was just not sitting well with me. And I said, and it's a shame because I like that stuff, but
I switched from diet stuff to zero sugar, because zero sugar.
My husband likes that.
There's a big, I mean, I still drink Diet Coke if there's no Coke Zero, but Coke Zero is different. Actually, I found this the other day too. This is new. I never saw, you can't even see it because it's green, but it's disappeared. It's Sprite Zero Sugar.
Yeah.
Which there's no caffeine in this though. So I was like, I forgot Sprite doesn't have caffeine. Neither does A&W Zero Sugar. Root beer doesn't have caffeine either.
I'm not a big root beer fan. My husband likes it again, but I'm
just a big
give me tea. I'm happy with tea or Arnold Palmer's. I love Arnold Palmer's. So
that's good too.
All right. Barry Nan Lau. Do you think we start James Washington? No, I don't think James Washington starts. I'm not sure if he's even going to play.
I don't think he's going to. I'd be surprised.
I would be surprised if he plays. He might be more of a futures type of thing.
That's what exactly. I think it was for next year. It was for next year. It wasn't for this year.
I don't think they're going to bring him up. I think he's on the practice squad, right?
Yeah.
He's not gonna do that. All right. John Koff, would you play Gates at tackle? No, he played it in college, but he's not a tackle. Gates has told me many times, and for those who came in, recently, I'm supposed to be having Gates on the show next week sometime. I'm not sure what day. I don't know if it's going to be for the live show, but as soon as I find out, I'll post a note, and because I got to see what his availability is. But Gates has told me time and again that he loves playing center. Now he'll play guard, obviously, if that's where they want him to play, but he's not a tackle in the NFL. He hasn't played it at this level. So
I think he has. He's played it. He's played it his rookie year. I thought he played it.
Yeah.
But not in a while. He hasn't played out.
No, but he's not.
And I agree. He's definitely better suited to play in the inside.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So, all right, let's see. Okay, this Papa Gusa wants to know about Lamar Jackson's career with the Ravens being done after this year.
That's interesting.
It's you know, I'll be honest with you. I've kind of followed it a little bit, but not as close to where I have a feeling one way or another. I
I think
suspect they're gonna get it done.
I
I
think he's
mean,
gone. I think he's gone. And I thought for the longest time that there was no way they were going to let him go. I think he's gone. I think Lamar
Jets
Jackson.
gonna make a run at him.
Yeah, somebody's gonna, and I don't think he's gonna be back with Baltimore. It just seems like I don't know. I think there's a good chance Lamar's not a Raven next year. That's what's coming out. That's what a lot of people have been saying the last couple of days.
that'll be interesting.
Yeah,
That'll be
because
interesting.
there's never, when you think about it, there's never been a quarterback that was perceived to be a franchise quarterback, as he should be, won an MVP, 3 years ago, at his age, outside of Deshaun Watson for obvious reasons, that a team has let go or traded or whatever. So this would be the first time I think this has ever happened. A quarterback as young as he is, as talented as he's been in the NFL, that a team does not bring back on another contract, if that is indeed what happens.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. We'll see. There's going to be a lot of quarterback movement. You know, Derek Carr's on the block, by the way. You know,
Baker Mayfield's gonna be out
Baker
there.
Mayfield is probably going to be on the way. But all right, Larosity, does Dave's presently have a say in what players Shane picks up? Yes, he does.
Yeah.
They make all the decisions together. Now, sometimes is there a disagreement? Sure, there'll be a disagreement here and there. And, you know, in that case, I think Shane's opinion wins out. But from what I understand, those disagreements are very few and far between. And when they do pop up, they're so minor that they go back to the drawing board, they talk and they work out, any differences. So it's really a wonderful relationship from what I understand. It's just, I don't want to call it a marriage, but it's kind of like a marriage. It works the way a perfect marriage should.
Mhm.
Communication
Yeah.
is key. You don't have one person dictating to the other person what they should and shouldn't do. So it's really
That's a
a
fact.
good, relationship the two of them have. And, just I
And
think the
as you
Giants
know, when you're
finally got
married,
it
you're
right.
you're definitely not going to agree on everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
I
want them
mean,
to work collaboratively, though. That you obviously you
Of
want
course,
your
because
coach-
Daboll's got to coach him, so he's
Yeah.
going to want to.
yeah,
And
exactly.
that goes right down the line because, Patty, you mentioned that the players have a lot of say or input on what they like to run, and
Absolutely.
Daboll takes it into account. So that works all the way down. So that's a
Sure.
good thing.
Sure, absolutely. All right, Crypto Moves asked, do you think they'll use the hurry up to try to quiet the crowd? They can't yell forever. All it would take is 3 first downs in a row. I could see them starting with a hurry up offense. Why not? I mean, to kind of change things up. I mean, will they do it? I don't know. I can tell you in practice this week, they've been simulating the noise.
Yeah, they said
They
they were going to do
practiced a
that.
lot indoors, and they've been. Matter of fact, I think the whole week they practiced indoors, and they've been simulating the noise. So they've been right down to the skull chant. To
Really?
try, yeah, little details. I mean, you'd be amazed.
'Cause-
Daboll is so meticulous with these little details. It's just you sit there and you go,
Yeah,
I would have never thought of that.
They said that earlier in the week that they were going to try to simulate the crowd.
Yep.
Now, Nick, I know you love Nick, and we all love Nick. Probably shouldn't have said what he said about the lack of crowd
It's
noise
all
when they were in
good.
Minnesota. I don't think it's going to be a factor. The crowd was going to be loud no matter what, but it just gives them a little, it gives the fans a little bit more of a reason to be a little bit louder on.
Give me a lot of Giants fans there. I'm telling you.
For sure.
Oh yeah. Oh gosh, yes.
They travel. I'm telling you, the Giants fans travel really well in the postseason.
They
Yeah.
really do. They really
They
do.
really do.
Yep, absolutely. All right, SR92007. What is the coach's nickname? He's so down to earth. Is it like a cool guy to have a drink with? He likes to be called Dabes.
Yeah.
You probably, if you listen to his Monday presser, you probably heard him. I always call head coaches coach, because it's a title they earn and it's a sign of respect. And I'm old school, fuddy-duddy, whatever you want to call me. And he said, Patty, just call me Dabes. And I was like, oh, okay, sorry. And then I think I ended my question with, okay, thank you, Dabes. And
Yep,
he's
that's
like, "There
exactly
you
what you
go."
did. Yeah, I was laughing.
So that was kind of a lighthearted moment. But yeah, he's really good. I was on a pod for Sports Knot today. I made a guest appearance I think that pod's going to air tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. And the host asked me about it, and I told the story about over the summer. Daboll he's busy with training camp and everything. And for those who don't know, over the summer I came down with COVID, and I had to miss the second half of training camp. I missed 3 weeks with that damn virus. Anyhow, one night I get a call, and it's from him, and I'm looking and I'm going at my phone. I'm like, get out. I'm thinking it's a joke. And, I have him, he's a contact in my phone because obviously he captured the phone number. And he goes, yeah. He goes, Patty, it's Dave's. He goes, I heard you're sick. And I said, yeah. I said, I got COVID. So he's like, how'd you get that? So we're just, I said, my damn husband gave it to me. He got it, and I got it 2 days later. So he goes, stupid man, so we're having this conversation. And so, and he was just, he spent about 5 minutes talking to me, and I'm sitting there thinking to myself, my God, you have so much to do, and you're taking 5 minutes out to see how I'm doing. I thought that was just real cool. Shane did the same thing. He texted me, mind you, to see how I was doing. I just thought that was so cool. And it's so, this is what they have brought down.
Yeah.
And this is, if they're doing it with us, you can imagine how they're treating the players.
I saw, I don't remember who it was. I don't think it was a member of the Giants beat. I think it was a member of ESPN. It was a female reporter. I can't remember who it was, but I saw the story on Twitter, and she talked about how at the beginning of the year, how she was so impressed by Daboll. Similar fashion to what you just said, how every morning at the start of practice, he would go out of his way to have conversations with the guys who do the lawn for the landscapers for the football, and then he would get into conversations with how his dad was a landscaper, and he's just creating a culture. It's not, and he even said it this past week. He said the fans are a part of the team. He's tried to bring that though from the start of the year.
Absolutely.
He's tried to build up a culture.
It is ownership. I talk about it all the time on the show. It's a sense of ownership that, even though the fans aren't directly involved in the preparation, they play a part in what this team does because they serve as the motivation. The players get juiced up by that.
Yeah. And, it was Aaron Andrews, by the way. They said in the chat. It was Aaron Andrews.
Okay. It was Aaron. Yeah. I think I remember that. So,
yeah.
So absolutely. Daboll's, I like him. Absolutely like him. And he's himself. He's not scripted. He's not, rehearsed. Judge at times was a little scripted and whatnot.
Definitely.
Actually, I don't mean to cut. I have it right. It's a minute video. I could play it for you real quick for anybody that hasn't seen it.
All right, go ahead.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. When I heard it, I was like, wow, that's legit.
Okay. We'll play it.
Let me pull it up for you real quick.
Okay.
Here it is. Present, share, and let me just expand it real quick.
All right. Got it?
Yeah. Okay. Just let me know when it's on the screen because I'm
there.
It's there? Okay.
Yep.
Daboll, first year head coach, I got to do a sit down with. He's going to get my Calm Down Dream Award. You're going to freaking die for him. He sits with the groundskeepers before practice. He goes and hangs out with them because his grandpa was a groundskeeper and he has so much respect for them. So guess what he just did? He freaking FaceTimed me from his little hut with the groundskeepers.
No, he did not.
He did to show me. I was dying. He sits with the cafeteria workers. You want to know what he said, which I'm dying for this. What have you learned? Because he was a coordinator. He was an assistant coach for 25 years. What did you learn? One big piece of advice when you brought it over from being a head coach. He said that when people, you have to say hi to everyone, because when you are in this role and people say hi to you and you don't say hi back, it affects their day. He also said, which is a huge piece of advice, when you are at this level and people walk through your door to talk to you about something, it is the most important thing on their mind. And it has been bothering them for weeks and they've wanted to talk to you about it. And they finally have the balls to walk in and talk to you. And even though he may have 700,000 things going on, he needs to realize that is the most important thing on their mind. I'm obsessed with Brian Daboll.
Yep.
So there you go.
Yep. Bingo.
Pretty cool.
They have the balls to go in and talk to him.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
All right, guys, listen, I got to take one more commercial break. When we come back, we'll continue with your questions. So don't go anywhere. We'll see you in a bit. Hey, Giant fans, betonline.net is your number one source for football betting info this season. Find all the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in-depth articles and analysis on all the playoff games this postseason. And BetOnline doesn't stop there. It's your continued source for all your sports wagering information with live betting and up-to-the-minute scores for every sport. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite games and events, including NBA, NHL, MMA, boxing, and golf. Head on over to betonline.net or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the games start. Hey, Giant fans, thanks for making the Locked On Giants podcast your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Locked On NFL podcast, bringing you local insights that you love to the national spotlight with daily conversations on the biggest NFL stories. Locked On NFL, available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Locked On Giants podcast. Locked On Giants Live with Traina, Tainah, and Dog. Playoffs!
All right.
Playoffs, baby! Bring the playoffs! The
That's as loud as I
playoffs!
get, by the way.
Go!
That's as loud as I can get.
I got you there. When it comes to volume, I got you.
It's so funny because when I was growing up, sometimes my mother would be like, she's like, come on, you got a big mouth, say, and that's as loud as I can get. I legitimately cannot shout that loud, so I don't know, man. But
you can't shout it out loud like Kiss. You can't shout it, shout it out loud.
I'm learning how to play that song on my guitar.
There you go.
I'm learning how to play that song. I mean, I got blisters on my fingers from playing the guitar at night. So,
I play Guitar Hero. I used to play Guitar Hero.
No, I'm actually playing the actual guitar. I actually have this guitar in full size.
That's awesome. A pretty cool looking guitar.
Yes, and I love it. My husband got it for me for Christmas, and I absolutely love the sucker because I don't have to tune it every day, which I'm thankful for. The original guitar I had to tune it like after every 2 songs. I'm like, what a piece of junk. This guitar is good. Well worth it. So, awesome. All right. Got a few more. Like I said, I've been trying to pick out people who I think are new to the show. Jesse Cully says hi. Hello. Thank you so much for dropping by. Let me see. I'm looking for some questions here. Actually, I'm a little behind. I'm about a half hour behind. I got to get caught up with some of these questions. So, by the way, if I don't get to your question, please email them to me. We can always pick them up in Twitter Tuesday. The email address right there, if you want to send us a question. I do Twitter Tuesday every Tuesday, or just come back next week. I'm sure we'll be here next week. We're going to have more playoffs, right? More playoffs.
That's right. We'll be talking about the absolutely hated Philadelphia Eagles.
Yes.
Let's talk about them next week in a game that'll actually mean something to us this year.
Yeah, right. It will.
All right. Dibble, any word on Gerard Davis? I mean, if you're asking me, do I think he's going to play? I do. I do think we're going to see him get some snaps there. I think we mentioned it earlier in the show. Might be at the expense of Micah McFadden, but I think he's going to have a package of personnel packages that he's going to play in. NY Giants 26 asks what players are X factors for Sunday. I think we talked about some of them. We said Breida, I think, was one. Who else did we say, guys?
From a bad way, I said Evan Neal because he could go either way, right?
Yep.
Yeah, those are a couple of guys we talked about. You could maybe say
Galladay.
I think Darnay Holmes too is another guy.
Darnay Holmes, yeah.
I think they're going to try to pick on him, put Justin Jefferson in the slot at times. So those are guys that you want to keep your eye on that need to step up.
Yeah. All right. I'm trying to get caught up here because, like I said, I'm behind. Gosh, all right. Kyle McGroarty is Adoree set to play the whole game. Don't know if he's going to play 100% of the snaps. I don't think he's going to be on a pitch count. I mean, again, he didn't get an injury designation, so I would assume that he's probably going to get a healthy amount of snaps. Is he going to get the whole 100%? I don't know. But, remember, guys, they have to have a walkthrough tomorrow too. And then there's a flight out to Minnesota. So not saying that something's going to pop up, but, you still got to get through that. But all signs are looking good for Adoree to return. And gosh,
we need him.
They need him. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
It sounds like he's going to play, but I wouldn't bank on him being his best because he hasn't played in like 6 weeks. So to expect him to just come back and be as good as he was,
right.
We'll see. Hopefully he is, but I think he'll play. Whether or not we're getting the Adoree that we loved at the beginning of the year, that remains to be seen.
Yes, absolutely. Because he's got to test out that knee too.
Yeah,
he's done it in practice, but practice speed, you just can't simulate the speed of a game. So, all right, Jordan Samiti. Who would you start at center, Feliciano or Nick Gates? I feel like Nick Gates has been playing better. You know what? Feliciano hasn't been that bad either. I know Feliciano's been banged up, but this is just a gut feeling I have. This doesn't, this is subject to change, and this is my opinion only based on, things I've seen, heard, observed. I would not be stunned if the Giants bring back Feliciano for another year and then draft a center for the long term. Now, how does that affect Gates, who's going to be an unrestricted free agent? I know Gates wants to come back. And by the way, again, for those who missed it, Gates is supposed to be on my show at some point next week. So keep an eye out. Like, subscribe, and hit the little bell if you want notifications. But yeah, I would not be surprised if the Giants bring back Feliciano and draft center for the long term. I think that's kind of the direction I see this going in. I mean, do you guys agree, disagree?
Definitely could use definitely need a center for the future. I think that's a big part of the offensive line. So I can definitely see him doing that.
I have no idea what's going to happen with Gates because we only have so much money, and we have so many, Jones and Barkley and Love and who knows.
Well, it'll all fit.
It'll
remember,
fit.
The first year salary is not as bad.
Yeah, it'll fit.
It'll
but I don't
fit,
know. I don't know what Gates' market's going to be, and how much money they want to dedicate. Who knows? So, but if Gates isn't back, could I see them bringing back Feliciano on a 1-year deal? Sure. I mean, I hope he's not starting all year because I don't think he's great. But next year,
maybe
regardless,
get him warmed up.
Yeah,
until the rookie is ready to play. I could see that happening. But
no matter what, I want us to draft the center next year.
Oh, so do I.
Yeah,
need a long-term center. Absolutely. Yeah. And get that guy ready to go. So, all right. Gary Gaston, do you guys want to see more design runs for DJ? Do I want to see it? No, because I'm old-fashioned. I'd rather he sit in the pocket. But do I think we'll see it? Yes.
Yeah, I'll answer it. Do I want to see it? Yes. Do I want to see it in the future? No. But for this team, for us to win in the playoffs, we're going to have to use his legs. As this team gets better, I don't think we'll have to rely on his legs as much because we'll have good wide receivers that could get open and create separation. But right now, Daniel Jones' legs are the best weapon we have on this football team. I mean, so many. I think Dan Duggan posted the stat today. Daniel Jones this year is 10th in the NFL in rushing first downs. 57 first downs this year with his legs. He's only had 120 carries. So almost half of his carries have resulted in first downs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, between him and Barkley's 7th in rushing first downs. That's been the bread and butter of this offense. So we can't get away from that. And I actually expect them to expand on it because it's the playoffs. It's no holds barred. You do what you got to do. And if the running lanes are there for Jones and he could take off, yeah, that's a weapon. You use your legs. But next year, if you ask me next year, do I want to see Daniel Jones rush for nearly 800 yards? Because he would have had he played the last game. My answer to you is no. I would prefer him to run for 400 yards and them to throw a lot more as they get more help around him. But for this team, he's got to use his legs.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, those two stats that you just mentioned about rushing first downs, that's why our time of possession is so much better this year. When you're able to convert third downs by running and extend drives, obviously your time of possession is going to go way up, and that helps everybody. It helps the offense, helps the defense stay fresh. So that's huge. I mean, Daniel Jones' legs are a massive part of what our offense does because, again, we don't have the greatest wide receivers out there. We don't have the greatest offensive line out there. So Jones has had to use his legs. I know a lot of people that are Daniel Jones detractors will just say he only threw for 15 touchdowns, but they leave out the fact that he rushed for 700 yards and 7 touchdowns. And those are Lamar Jackson type of numbers. The same people that'll knock Daniel Jones talk about how great Lamar Jackson is, but you look at the rushing stats, and that is a part of what a quarterback does these days. You may not think about that. You know Daniel Jones runs, but at the end of the day, you might be not thinking to yourself, wow, he ran for 700 yards and 7 touchdowns this year. So obviously it's a big part of what the Giants offense does. And, like Chris said, in the playoffs, yeah, I want him because that is one of the biggest weapons we have in offense. But as the team does develop around Daniel Jones, as you do get better receivers, as the offensive line does get better as the years progress, and he gets older, you don't want him to run as much. And I'll just use this. I know Dak Prescott had a bad year, but Dak Prescott ran a lot more at the beginning of his career than he does now. So you don't really want your quarterbacks running a ton. And I would say even Eagle fans would say that with Jalen Hurts. Hurts runs a lot too, but I think that as the years progress, they probably wouldn't want Hurts to run because you have a better chance of getting hurt. You're going to get hit more when you're putting yourself out there. And Daniel Jones doesn't always slide. He likes to lower the head sometimes. Oh, Danny, just go down. Just go down. Don't try to get the extra yard. And I know that's just embedded in your competitive nature as a professional athlete. You're trying to get every inch. Football's a game of inches. But sometimes, just slide, man. Don't take that unnecessary hit.
He's gotten better at it, though.
Yeah, the Colts game is so he's gotten better. He's not exactly where I want him to be, but he's gotten better. I agree.
Yes, exactly. All right, Kyle McGrody asked, does Rodarius Williams get some snaps this week? I don't know. My guess is probably not. Predicting the inactive list is going to be tricky this week because nobody's been declared out. There's nobody on the injury report, so you would think it's probably going to be a lot of healthy scratches, I would think. I have a feeling Rodarius Williams may be scratched. I mean, we'll see. And also, let's see who they bring up from the practice squad, if they bring up anybody. If they don't, I think then they only have to deactivate, I believe, 5, right? If they don't bring up anybody.
Yes.
But if they bring up 2, then they have to deactivate 7.
You said that. Yeah. I remember you saying that last week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not so sure Rodarius. I mean, we'll see. We'll see, but I doubt it. I really do. Let me see. You guys, I know, are doing a show after this, right? At 10?
Yeah, I set it for 10:10.
Okay, so we got some time yet.
Yeah.
We still got to do our predictions, although I know what your prediction's going to be, dog.
Yeah, hell yeah. Let's go. We're playing Philadelphia in a week.
Hold that thought. Let's see. Oh gosh, this is a funny one. Kartik said Joe Judge would tell you to run laps while down with COVID. No, actually, I got along with Joe. I like Joe, and I still do. Joe, he was one way, I think, at his pressers. Like, I always thought he was very rehearsed and very scripted and almost robotic sometimes, but I like Joe. I used to, when I see him, we'd have a conversation about this, that, and the other thing. So, nah, he's not, I never had a problem with him, but
seemed like a good guy.
The only head coach I can honestly say I had a problem with, and it was such a minor thing, was with Pat Shurmur, because Pat Shurmur was just downright rude to me once, and I wasn't having it.
I remember you telling me that. Yeah.
Yeah. I just wasn't having it. What happened was, I asked a question about the punter at the time, and it was a legitimate question, and he gave me a wiseacre answer. And I just, I was standing right in front of him, and you can tell when I'm ticked off because I put my hands on my hip, and I looked and I went like this very visibly. And he saw, he's watching this. And then after he was done, he came off the podium, patted me on the shoulder, and he goes, "We good?" I said, "What do you think?" And he says, "Oh, I was just kidding." I said, "No, you weren't. You were trying to make me look like an ass." I said, "And I didn't appreciate that." I said, "I asked you a legitimate question, and you were trying to make me look like an ass, and that's just not cool." So he apologized to me, and then he said, "Walk with me, and I'll give you an answer." So I was like, "Okay, fine." But that was the only time
that was my nickname for Pat Shurmur. Snoopy. I mean, just call him Snoopy all the time.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I just thought that was, because if I had asked a stupid question, and I didn't think it was stupid, I don't remember exactly what I asked, but he just gave me a wiseacre answer, and I'm like, I don't think so, dude. I'm not putting up with that.
Yeah.
As I get older, I get a little bit more. What's the
I
word
wish I knew the
want?
question.
What's that?
I wish you remembered the exact question.
It had to do with I know it had to do with the punter, and his answer was he just has to punt more. And it was something, it had to do with something with the technique. I think it was who was the punter at the time? Was it Dixon? Might have been
Yeah, I think it
Dixon.
was Dixon.
I
Yeah.
think it was Dixon, and he was struggling. And it was something with the technique that I had seen on film, and I asked about, and I was like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
So, but I never had, Coughlin was always good. Judge, like I said, didn't have a problem with him. Didn't have a problem with McAdoo. I think I don't want to I hope you don't think this is like bragging, but I remember sitting in McAdoo's office. He met one-on-one with all the beat writers when he was first hired. And I think I had like the second longest, if not the longest interview at the time. We were always supposed to meet with him for like 10, 15 minutes. And I was in his office for well over an hour. It was kind of funny. They're like, what the heck are you guys talking about? And so he was pretty good to me too. Dave's is good, so I guess, look, some people you're going to run into and just not going to connect. And it's funny because with Shermer, I remember saying, you're never going to forget my name because I have the same name as you. So
Right.
kind of,
Yeah.
some people call me Pat, but he's just like, okay. But of course he did remember my name. So, oh well. What are you going to do?
He
right?
didn't last long enough to remember anybody's name.
No.
Yeah, he was interesting, Pat. I really thought he was going to be okay and work out all right. And
I was excited when we hired him initially.
I knew they were going to hire him because I knew they were going to bring on the next quarterback.
That's why, yeah.
Yeah, and I knew it, and I'm just,
He did a great job with several quarterbacks in Minnesota. So I was like,
yeah,
makes sense. Eli, you maybe drafted a quarterback, but we saw how it played out. Didn't play out well. I'm glad we ended up with who we got.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. I mean, but all right, let's see. I see we've got some people from the Vikings fans that have infiltrated our chat. Welcome, Viking fans. I see one who put, who New York Giants? Just kidding. Me no New York Giant. Speaking just like a skull. Okay, I love it.
What does that mean anyway?
Skull
Is it like cheers or like?
I gotta look
skull?
that up.
I know it's a Viking chant. Let me look it up.
Yeah, I
It's
don't know.
also
That's
the
like
name- it's
drink
also the
or
name
what
of
it is.
tobacco. Smokeless tobacco. But let me see. Skull means it's Danish. I'm just
Good health.
looking at
Oh,
A drinking toast.
Yeah, it's a
it is
Danish
the
word.
toast. That's what I thought it was.
Yeah.
It says often used as an interjection. I don't know. Maybe like I don't.
Well, I
Maybe
figure
just
Vikings
information.
fans would know what it is. Like I'm from New York. I've never heard of that word except from Vikings
No,
fans.
I've
Like,
heard it.
nobody around upstate New York's going, hey, bad dog, skull.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Okay, now I've seen a couple of questions about free agency and the draft. And again, folks, I'm not there yet. We're in the playoffs.
Playoffs.
I'm all about the playoffs.
Well, we'll talk about that in 4 weeks
get
after we
I'll talk about that in February.
Yeah, after we win the Super Bowl, we'll talk all about it.
Yeah, yes. I mean, right now I couldn't tell you who's out there, all that stuff. So, and I don't want to give you answers unless I
And
do
I'm
my
gonna tell you
homework.
what, once the season's over, hopefully it's not this week, but once the season's over, my attention is gonna turn to the players that are on this team that are free agents before I even start to think about outside free agents. Because I got to see if Jones is back and Barkley's back and
Love
and all those guys. We have so many pending big name free agents, and then figure out what the money is left over after the contracts have been distributed, and then you could start to project what we might do in free agency.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Here's a good one from Crypto Moves. Giants on defense. The Giants have to exploit the Vikings inside O-line and offense. They need the time of possession with a running game and swing out passes. Agree. Yeah, I mean, I think one of the key battles is going to be in the pit, the Giants defensive front versus that banged up Vikings.
That's the biggest key.
Line.
That's the
Yeah.
biggest key.
Yeah, I think that is definitely the biggest key. Whoever wins the line of scrimmage, I
Yeah.
think is going to end up, winning the game. Absolutely.
That's
And, time of possession. Sure. I mean, swing out passes. I don't know. I think I would try and mix it up a little bit. I wouldn't stick with the dump offs to the flat and everything like that, but I would try and mix it up a little bit. Maybe throw in some crossers, try a couple of deep balls if the opportunity presents itself, because I don't think that Vikings pass defense is that much better than it was when we saw them
No.
a couple weeks ago.
it's awful.
So yeah, I think you got to pick and choose, where you go deep, whether you dump it off and whatnot. So yeah, mixture. You can't just do one thing. But yes, time of possession is key, definitely. So thank you for the question. All right, here's a good one, Terry Bay. Hey Terry, how you doing? Yes, Terry. Terry is a follower of mine over on Instagram.
Awesome.
Likes Kiss. She likes
There you
Kiss.
go.
That's why I like Terry so much. She wants to know, how did the Giants plan to defend against Justin Jefferson? That's a good question.
I think it's gonna be double coverage.
I think you got to bracket them. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think they're gonna double them all game. I'd also Justin Pennick actually posted a really interesting stat the last time we played the Vikings, and teams who have had success against the Vikings, what they have done. The first time around, I forgot the exact yardage, but the cushion that we provided Justin Jefferson off the line of scrimmage was like in excess of like 7 yards on average per play. And he basically broke it down to when teams have had success against Jefferson this year, it's been more when they've pressed him up at the line of scrimmage.
And that leads to winks like blitzing. You playing press coverage, because Jefferson tears his own up.
Yeah. So that, I think they got to be a bit more aggressive with Jefferson, try to disrupt his patterns.
Yeah.
But I think they're going to have to double him the majority of the game.
Absolutely.
And
Bracket coverage. Yep.
Yeah. If Thielen beats you, if Hawkinson beats you, and I think they're going to go.
And now with McKinney coming back, they've got the personnel who can do it.
Yeah.
Because
Adoree back too. Yeah.
Well, Adoree's going to probably draw Justin Jefferson, but I'm just wondering, would you consider putting Adoree one-on-one on Jefferson, given that he's coming back, after since week 11, he's been out since week 11, or would you definitely double him up?
I'd still double him. I think you have to make somebody else beat you on that team.
Yeah.
Kind of like the Vikings game plan is going to go in and say, we can't let Barkley beat us. So you got to make someone else beat you. And if they do, they do. But I think Justin Jefferson has to be the focal point, of Wink Martindale and figuring out how to, you're not going to stop him, but you have to figure out how to slow him down. And you can't let him beat you. Like Chris said,
can't stop him.
If Thielen's the guy, then it ends up being that. But you can't go into that game and let Justin Jefferson have a 200-yard receiving game and kill you. You have to do whatever you can to at least control him. Contain.
I don't think we're going to blitz a whole lot in this game.
Well, you might not have to. You might be able to get there with 4 guys.
I think it's going to be.
If he can, that's what you do. But Wink's going to be aggressive.
He's going to pick his spots, but I don't expect
pick his
Wink,
spots. Absolutely.
Yeah, he's not going to blitz 40% of the time like he normally does, though. I don't think. We'll see, but I think they're going to be dropping a lot back in coverage.
Yes. Thanks for the question, Terry. James Vegas asks, did you ever talk with Jim Fossil? Yes. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you a quick story. When I started coming around on the beat more full time, Jim Fossil had just been hired, and I had heard a lot of good things about him. And I remember showing up at Giants Stadium for I think it was the first time I was going on site, and I was lost. I didn't know where I was going. And who do I run into in the tunnel? But Jim Fossil on his way out to practice. So he sees me, and at first he's like, because there weren't a lot of women back then on the beat. And he sees me and he's like, you got that curious look, like, who are you? But he didn't want to come around and say, who the hell are you? Or anything like that. So I said to him, first thing I said to him was, oh my God, I'm so lost. And he goes, who are you looking for? I said, it's my first day. It was one of my first days. I said, I'm not sure where to go. And I told him, who I was and what paper I was with and everything. And he said, come with me. Because he was on his way out to practice. And, at the time, reporters, we could see the whole practice when Jim Fossil was there. He would let you watch the entire practice, assuming that you didn't report what you saw. Right. Which back then, blogs weren't a big thing. Twitter wasn't really a thing. So
it was all the newspaper.
Right. So I walked out with him, and he introduced himself. I introduced myself, and we were chit-chatting. So yes, I did talk with Jim. always thought, very highly of Jim. He was always good with the media. So yeah, I have nothing but good things to say about Jim Fossil, who they used to call him Gentleman Jim, and I think that fits.
I love Jim Fossil. I loved it.
Now, I didn't like what he did for the Super Bowl, because based on what some of the players told me he did for the Super Bowl, story of which is in my book, by the way. I know I keep hawking it, but this stuff just keeps coming up. We're talking history here. So I didn't like that, but as a person, I like Jim.
Yeah.
So I just wish he had not outsmarted himself for the Super Bowl against the Ravens, because
it didn't work.
It did not work. And to hear the players tell the stories, and I'm sitting there going, what? So yeah, it was kind of interesting. So, all right, guys, I know you've got, I think, about 20 minutes to your show. So why don't we do predictions right now?
Okay.
All right. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Go for it, Tainah.
I think, like I said at the top, I think it should be a very close game. Either way, I think this game goes all the way down to the wire. But in the end, I think it's going to be the opposite of the first time around. The first time around when we played Minnesota, we turned the ball over twice. They didn't turn it over at all. I think this game we're going to win the turnover battle. Maybe might be by 1, might not be by 2, but I think we're going to win the turnover battle. And like I said at the top of the stream, I think it's going to be a much more balanced attack this week. We're going to throw, and I think we'll be successful when we do it against this poor passing defense. But I think they're going to get back to running the ball a bit. The last time we played Minnesota, I felt like we didn't run the ball enough, and we were just a little bit too predictable, which is why I think we had the 2 turnovers that we did. I think we get back to running the ball. I think Jones is a big day on the ground, and I got the New York Giants winning, which is all that matters. I don't care what the final score is, but I got the Giants winning 27-23. I think it's going to be played in the mid to high 20s. And I think we dictate the pace of play. I think we run the ball pretty effectively. And we create at least one interception off of Kirk Cousins with that defensive line, which I think is the biggest mismatch in this game, our defensive line versus their banged up offensive line.
All right. Sounds good. Dog.
We're going to pay. We're playoffs. We're going to pay these guys back. We're going to pay them back. Yep. This time, I do believe we win the turnover battle. I do believe you see Daniel Jones run the ball a little bit more. We're much more healthy on defense this time around. Doesn't mean we're going to shut down their offense. Their offense is really good. This will be close. Both of these teams, for the most part, I know Minnesota got blown out a couple of times. Eagles blew us out the one game. For the most part, these two teams play very close games. They won a lot of close games, and they do it in very different manners. So it should be a very close game again. I think this goes right down to the wire, but this time it's our kicker that hits the game-winning field goal, and we win this game 24-21, and we'll see Philadelphia a week from Sunday.
That means I'll be in Philadelphia if that happens.
That's what's going to happen.
That game.
24-21, Giants, baby. Let's do it.
Playoffs, baby.
Playoffs.
All right. I'm going with the Giants too. All week long, one of the things I like to do when I have an opportunity to go in the locker room is kind of take the temperature of, what are the players thinking? How are they reacting? How are they going about their business? They have been all business this week, folks, but not to the point where they are so uptight that you think, oh my God, they're so uptight that they make the slightest mistake. That's the end of it. There's been some ping pong games in the locker room. I know, because I've gotten pelted with a couple of ping pong balls, which is fine. They're soft. There's been, you see teammates congregating, which is really good. You like to see the special teams guy, they're congregating. You see some of the defensive linemen congregating, talking about the game, talking about stuff. Just the whole atmosphere. I can't quite explain it, but it reminds me a lot of what I saw in 2011. How just guys they were focused.
They're bought in.
Yeah, they're bought in. They're focused, but they're not so uptight that, oh my God, if we don't win,
Right.
They're not like, you know what I mean? So I feel pretty good about it. This coaching staff, I think we can all agree that this coaching staff has done a heck of a job.
Absolutely.
They will
Coach
have
of the year.
prepared. They will have them prepared. I think they, right down to the little detail that I mentioned about playing, the skull chant in practice, the little details like that. They're all about this game. They are dialed in. I think the Giants win. I'm going to go 27-21.
Oh, we're pretty close then. I said 27-23.
Okay. I mean, it's going to be, I'll go with the 1-score game. Initially I thought, okay, maybe the Giants might get 2 scores up. I feel pretty good about it. And, but because I'm going to take one for the team, and for those of you who don't know, what I have been doing is when I write my game stories, I always write 2 versions of it. I write one for the loss, one for the win. It's double work, but you know what? I just assumed that the loss never sees the light of day. And I did that all throughout 2011. I always wrote for a loss, and then I would have to scramble and flip it for a win. And my husband would be like, "Why are you doing that? You're making extra work for yourself." And especially because I was sick back then. I said, "Dude, I got to take one for the team." Maybe I'm just a teeny weeny bit superstitious, just a teeny little bit.
Me too. I eat cinnamon rolls every game day.
We wear sunglasses at halftime, of course.
There you go.
But another guy that I want to mention that I should have throughout the show that I actually think is going to have a big game, and I think he's going to be the feature. Well, we kind of mentioned him a bit, but I think Saquon Barkley is going to be. Bobby and Justin, I went on their podcast. They asked me on Sunday, if you don't include Daniel Jones, who's going to be the guy that you're going to be talking about on Monday that had the big game if the Giants win? I said Saquon Barkley. I think they've been resting up Saquon Barkley for this game. He only had 13 carries his last contest. He didn't play the pass game. And even in that Colts game, even though he had 59 yards on the ground, you saw that burst. He was slithering his way through small holes. He has the burst, and they've really started to utilize him more in the passing game down the stretch. He had 10 targets against the Vikings. I think he had 8 targets against the Colts. I think they're going to use him in a big way in this game. I think Barkley, I could see him having 23 carries, 6 or 7. I think he's going to have a lot of work in this game. And I think he's going to be the guy that drives this team to the win on the offensive side of the football. I think Saquon Barkley shows up in a massive way on Sunday.
Yeah. I think so too. He's rested. Again, nobody's 100% at this point in the season or postseason. But
I'm not 100% either, but I'm going in, baby. Let's do it.
I'm not 100% either, but you know what? I'm ready to rock and roll. I
can't
am
wait.
ready to rock
I can't wait.
and roll.
So am I.
All right, folks. If you didn't get your question answered, the email address is on the screen. It's lockedongiantspodcast@gmail.com. So if your question wasn't answered, send it to me. I'll pick it up for Twitter Tuesday. Rob, I know you asked about Giants, Jets in London next year. I don't think that's going to happen. The Giants were just in London this year. I don't see the Giants going back to London 2 years in a row. So I just wanted to just quick give you a shout out. And then also, folks, those of you who came in late, Locked On Giants has a new Instagram account. It's Locked On Giants. Been posting like little cards, if you will, with stats and facts. I posted little clips of interviews. So I'm trying to really up my game, my social media game. If you also want to follow me on my personal account, where I also incorporate some of the football stuff, my Instagram account is @PattyTraina. And of course, my Twitter account is @Patricia_Traina. And look, I'm trying to catch up because I'm taking some flack about my lack of followers, that I'm falling behind certain people on Twitter. So
who's giving you flack?
I'm getting some flack about, I won't mention any names, but one person said, "Oh my God, I have more Twitter followers than you do." Because at one point I had more than he had. And I said to him, I don't get paid by the Twitter follower. I mean, it's great. And I like interacting with my Twitter followers and my Instagram followers where I can. So really trying to
hold on one second. I gotta look. Hold on one second. What am
I up to? I'm just shy of 32,000.
I gotta look real quick. You deserve at least 300,000. Let me see what
checks in the mail.
You've got 31.9. I'm not even that far behind you. What is going? I got 21.4. You better have triple the amount of followers that you currently have by the end of this Giants game. Go over there and follow her. She's great. Go over there and follow her.
Yes, please. I mean, look, I try and make it worth your while. I try to treat intelligently. Now, sometimes, am I perfect? No, but I do the best I can. So anyway, it's appreciated. It's appreciated you guys for coming on. Next week we'll be back and we'll be talking more of the come on, hit it, dog.
Playoffs, divisional round,
Eagles, right?
against a division rival. What better
Oh my
way?
gosh! If that game comes to fruition, man, you're
Actually, like I
really going to
said,
be bouncing off the wall.
I don't.
You better come and not be like lacking the energy, man. You better be.
Oh no! Listen, if we're playing Philadelphia, I'll be wired all week. If we play Philadelphia, there'll probably be I'll probably have a video out every day just to get it out of my system. I hate the Eagles. I freaking Patty, Giants fans. We got to get past Minnesota. I want to beat Minnesota because 10 years of crap we've taken from the Eagles. It just takes one knocking them out of the playoffs at the number 1 seed. That's it. That's all it takes. And everything's gone. And I've said it, and I'll say it again. If there's any way feasible that we beat Minnesota and then knock the Eagles out of the playoffs, you will not be an Eagle fan on my page for a year because I will be insufferable. Because they're supposed to beat us. So it doesn't really matter because I've been taking crap from them for 5 years. But if we beat them, I'm
going to tell you this right now, Bad Dog. If we play the Eagles, you're going to see trash talking Tainah next week because I cannot stand that football team. I'm going to be as obnoxious as I've ever been if we play the Philadelphia Eagles because I hate. There's not a professional franchise in any sport that I hate more than the Philadelphia Eagles, and we
owe them a lot. We owe them.
You know what? I'm going to be good only because I've got a job to do, and also for that game, I would not be surprised, and we'll see. Obviously, and I don't mean to jump ahead because look, they do have to get past the Vikings.
Yes,
first.
They do.
But I could see a scenario where, that game is played at prime time. Can you imagine Giants Eagles in prime time if it comes down to that?
Yeah, we owe them.
Yeah.
I want a piece of it. I want a shot. I just want a shot at them. They beat us. Yes. I want a shot to get revenge on that team. It'd be nice to get revenge on Minnesota for this year, but I want revenge on the Philadelphia for the last 10 years.
I'm thinking about it though.
Haven't won since 2013 in Philly.
Yeah,
usually the prime time, I would assume they do one of each conference in the second round. Maybe I'm wrong one. So I'm going to lean that won't happen because the other game is going to have either the Cowboys, America's team, or Tom Brady in it. So they'll probably get the night game. But I would love it to be on night to show the whole world us kicking the crap out of the birds, clipping their wings.
I don't care what time.
We'll have to see how, again.
If we beat Philadelphia, I won't sleep for a week either. I'll be too
Oh, my
excited.
God. Your wife will kick you out of the house, man. She'll be like, go calm down. But, yes, first things first, Giants got to take care of the Vikings. So, everybody, hope you enjoyed the week of coverage here on Locked On Giants. Make sure you also check my written workout on Giants Country as well as the other writers who are contributing over on Giants Country. We're working hard to bring you new content, new videos, new everything. We're working hard here on the Locked On Giants podcast. We'll have all new shows for you next week. We'll have shorts as need be. Everybody, go Giants. Thank you. We will see you Monday for the wrap-up. Hopefully the happy wrap-up. Take care, everybody.
Peace.